The Pope Francis death, the more that you look at it, the wilder it gets. Because at this point, we might not just be talking about Pope Francis' death. We might be talking about the last Pope. And all the signs are there.
Today we're looking at TikTok videos that will make you rethink everything.
Kanye West essentially is saying White Lotus ain't got nothing on me.
Yes, he is very openly in a new song describing a incestuous relationship that he says he had with a male cousin when they were teenagers.
So if you guys didn't know, yesterday the Pope died, which is crazy because he died after Easter. So let's just have a moment of silence for the Pope. Today we're going to look at some conspiracy theories behind how he died and the reason why he died. So make sure to stick around for that. Let's try to get to 2,000 likes this video. So if you're seeing this video right now, just like it. Let's try to get to 2,000. And the scariest part about these videos, it says that 70% of you guys are not subscribed. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. And as y'all know, these videos do get intense, so watch at your own risk. Let's go!
This is a real thing. A woman took a nearly empty bus home and sat behind a man who was rummaging through his bag. She watched as he slyly took out a mobile phone that didn't seem to be his. Moments later, he quickly moved seats and, using the same trick, stole another woman's phone. A third man on the bus noticed the suspicious behavior, stepped in immediately, and caught the thief. He insisted on taking the man to the police station and asked both women, the victims, to come along for evidence and identification. The four of them got off the bus and started walking toward the nearest station, which led them through a remote tunnel near a quiet, scenic area. As they passed through the tunnel, the second woman and the man who had claimed to be a brave bystander suddenly blocked the first woman's path. Confused, the woman barely had time to react before the thief, who had seemingly been restrained, came up from behind and pressed a cloth over her face. The strong chemical quickly knocked her unconscious, and she collapsed. In the silence of the night, the three conspirators lifted her into the trunk of a parked car nearby. What appeared to be a random act of theft had been a setup from the start. The thief, the supposed hero, and the second woman were all working together. Within moments, the car disappeared into the darkness.
The world's largest iceberg is now on a collision course with a British island. So here's what you need to know. Imagine if you put 5 New York cities together and chucked it in the ocean. That is the size of iceberg A23A. Not a very fun name, I know, but scientists. Anyway, it broke off from Antarctica decades ago, but it was always stuck on the sea floor. Until recently. At first, it started moving slowly. But once it got the currents and the winds behind it, our big boy started moving. And now scientists are anxiously checking satellite images every day because it's on course to smash into South Georgia. Georgia in the US, Georgia in Europe, you're both fine, not talking about you. South Georgia is a remote British island with no permanent residents, but is full of wildlife. So scientists are worried that birds, seals, and penguins could be in danger. I mean, look at them! Look at what's at stake here. Oh, and this also might be the final resting place for our big boy A23A. Because the further he drifts north, the more he melts away and pieces break off. R.I.P. to a big boy.
We're also following a scary incident at Orlando International Airport in Florida. That is where a Delta Airlines flight experienced an engine fire just moments before a scheduled takeoff earlier today. According to the airport, 282 passengers were on board. Some of them had to evacuate using the plane's emergency slides. Police are now on the scene investigating.
Dude, what's going on lately? There's so much aviation incidences, is actually crazy. And it's always Delta too. Like Delta flipped and now their engine explode. I mean, I can't say always Delta because there's some other ones that wasn't only just Delta.
The Pope Francis death, the more that you look at it, the wilder it gets. Because at this point, we might not just be talking about Pope Francis' death. We might be talking about the last Pope. And all the signs are there. So let's start from this. The death certificate said that Pope Francis died from a stroke and a heart failure. But then at the same time, they said he was in a coma. A coma, bruh? Now we seen Pope Francis on Easter Sunday, waving at the crowd, giving little blessings, talking and doing all this stuff, y'all. He even met with J.D. Vance. And then the next day, he's gone? How was he in a coma if he met with J.D. Vance that night? Y'all ever notice that powerful people meet right before something major happened? Let that sink in for a second. Why J.D. Vance? Why was he the one to go meet with the Pope. They say they were talking about humanitarian stuff. But why J.D. Vance? I'm just asking the questions, y'all. He meets with him. The next day, he's gone. J.D. Vance even seemed to notice that he was in better health. Because y'all remember, he was in the hospital for 38 days with double pneumonia. That's what they had said. And y'all remember, it was times where all the news outlets was saying that he was going to pass that one night where he just got so sick, so ill. People was praying for him. And he made it through the next day. People was like, it's a miracle. They said he even had nights where he was choking on his own vomit, y'all. And he overcame all of that. They said they wanted him to rest for 2 months because he was going to be extremely ill still. But he said, no, I'm finna do God's work. I'm finna go out Easter. I'm feeling good. I feel great, actually. He felt great enough to go on the Pope Mobile. He felt great enough to give people blessings, to even have a little meeting with J.D. Vance. And all of a sudden, he's gone. Now, let's get into this prophecy part. In the 1500s, St. Malachi made a list of 112 popes. He said it will only be 112. And after the 112th one passes, there will be no more. That's it, y'all. He said the end of time, Judgment Day, Rome falls. So do y'all want to guess the number that Pope Francis was? Malachi said the final pope will be known as Peter the Roman, that he will lead the church into tribulations, chaos, and destruction. And some say that Francis was Peter in disguise, Jesuit, but Latin American, but took the name Francis from Saint Francis of Assisi, who was born in Rome. But y'all tell me, is that a reach or is that the road? So with all of this taking place this year, y'all remember he opened the holy door too. The holy door is like a spiritual reset switch. And the church only opened them during rare Jubilee years. A lot of people say when he opened the door, he welcomed people in to make it to the other side. For people to ask for forgiveness and etc. But then you got people that said when that door opened, that was the judgment. So around that same time that he opened the holy door, it was talks, whispers, that he also was gone down in the Vatican vault where he was not supposed to go. It's an underground archive that holds forbidden text, and it is locked, and it's supposed to be sealed. But like I said, I heard the whispers that he was finna unlock some of them documents. We're gonna play the hypothetical, because like I said, I don't know if it's real or not, but that's what I heard. But what if he did in fact go down to that vault and he seen some things that he was finna share with the world? And before he could do that, he ultimately passed. So let's lay this out. The death certificate said coma, but we all seen him alive the day before. A meeting with J.D. Vance said they were talking about humanitarian stuff. No full explanation other than that. Early on, he opened the holy doors. They say he started looking into the Vatican vault. And then boom, he's gone now. And the prophecy said that he will be the last pope. So if Pope Francis was the 112th pope, and there's supposedly not supposed to be another one, what comes after that, y'all? They didn't say that, but what do you think? So can y'all believe it was just a peaceful death? Or can you ask yourself, why him? Why after he met with J.D. Vance? And why after Easter Sunday? The prophecy said that Peter the Roman will lead during destruction. So if Pope Francis was really that guy, then the clock is already ticking, y'all. Stay woke.
I don't know, maybe Pope Francis just didn't like Trump, because isn't there a video of like Trump like trying to touch his hand and he just slaps his hand away? I'm see if I can put it in. I'm gonna see if I can put it in right now. But I'm not sure. Like, the conspiracy theories behind his death is kind of weird because there's no way he died from a coma, but then he was active on Easter. Would that even count as a coma?
Scientists claim to have discovered a new color that no one has ever seen before. This study used a laser to stimulate only M cones, because generally when light hits our eyes, it stimulates all the cones. But when they stimulated only one of the cones that we have in our eyes, they would make the brains of people see color that has never been seen before. And they named this color Olo for some reason, which you can't see unless you do this specific experiment. But like, this is something that is a pretty big breakthrough because, you know, it really sort of challenges how our brains and our eyes combine to see the world that we live in. Now, these researchers used this laser with a pulsing firing into people's eyes. And
Fun fact, it's much more likely there will be an air rage incident on planes where the economy passengers have to walk past the first class seats to get to their seats at the back of the plane versus when the first class and economy passengers board the plane separately. And surprisingly, it doesn't just make the economy passengers mad, but the first class passengers too. A study from the University of Toronto looked at millions of flights from around the world to figure out why do people experience air rage. And they found that having a first class section on the plane was one of the biggest indicators that there would be an air rage incident. And the researchers controlled for almost every possible variable that could make people mad. Delays, not enough legroom, someone watching videos on their phone at full volume, but they were able to prove without a doubt that planes with a first class section caused air rage. Airplanes are like a compact version of society, and it's very obvious where everyone falls on the social ladder based on where they're seated. And this inequality is just thrown in people's faces, which leads to people feeling unfairness and inferiority, which turns into anger, aggression.
Kanye West essentially is saying White Lotus ain't got nothing on me.
Yes, he is very openly in a new song describing a incestuous relationship that he says he had with a male cousin when they were teenagers. The song that he dropped today is called Cousins. Now, we're going to play a little bit of it for you. There's a whole explanation of how this relationship started, but this is what he's claiming. And again, we're used to hearing outrageous things from Kanye.
In other words, translation, we don't know what's true and what isn't.
Right, but here's what he's saying in the song.
Well, you can kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
So, look, we don't know. He has been off the rails now for months. I mean, not weeks, for months. And, you know, is this real? Maybe.
This is a cousin he's referred to before. This is a cousin he says is actually doing time. He's in prison now for murdering someone. And he's talked about that cousin in public before.
But not about this.
But never about this alleged relationship between them.
Yeah, Kanye's social media has kind of been hinting that he wants to reveal some things lately. Yeah, we don't know if it's true or not, but the song, you know, really does go into detail about what happened. You know, he's been hinting that his mom may have been a lesbian, and they discovered some magazines that, you know, led them to experiment on each other, him and his cousin.
We should explain because we had to censor some of it, but what he was saying was that the magazines that he found in his mom's room or somewhere in the house showed gay sex, and that he and his cousin decided they wanted to try some of it is, and I wonder I don't know where his cousin is incarcerated.
Is it possible, look, we don't know, but is it possible that all of the talk about White Lotus, because
made him feel like, I want to say something that's going to,
whether it's true or not true, that he tapped into it? Because that's what he's done. I mean, with Trump, he tapped into it. With other things, with Kim, he tapped into it. And it's like,
I don't know. It's so hard.
Well, we don't know if it's true, but it does sound like he's going to deliver more messages in his music going the line. This is just the first of the latest album that he plans on releasing. So.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, it looks like he is now back with Bianca Censori. You
Yeah.
know that they had gone to divorce lawyers. In fact,
They've gone to divorce lawyers
3 times he's been since October.
Right, and then he dropped a song last month that basically, or earlier this month, where he was begging Bianca to come back to him, and apparently it worked because they were seen together in Spain, going to a restaurant. I don't know if this means that everything is back hunky-dory with them, but and
she's clothed.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it's relevant.
There's a difference there, yeah.
It's totally relevant. Is this Madrid?
Mallorca.
Mallorca?
Yeah.
Look, she has been to a divorce lawyer, we know, at least once. He's been 3 times. At least 2 of the 3 said, I'm not going to represent you.
Right.
Because they just didn't want to. A third, he was going to file for divorce, and that fell apart and decided not to. So we know of all of those, and there may be more.
Right.
But
for now,
it looks like
they're at least doing dinner together.
They're doing dinner.
Dude, Kanye is hilarious. That is hilarious. This is why I love my job. That's why I love reacting to this to you guys. Because, like, what? He just admits to... I wonder how his cousins feel for real. Like, his cousin probably sitting there like, what is this dude saying? Like, Kanye knows what he's doing. I feel like he's smart enough to know what he's doing. And I feel like he's genuinely doing it for, like, something. Like, I don't necessarily think he's going crazy like people think he is. I think he's doing it for a reason, but I don't really know the reason. You know what I'm saying? I think he's genuinely a smart dude. But I feel like there's something deeper that's going on right here.
This was released yesterday. These are the UFOs that Jake Barber and his team at Skywatch were filming. These are the people that are saying that they're using psionic capabilities, like telepathic capabilities, to summon these crafts. And this is the first time that they're releasing any video from it. People have been waiting on it since he announced it back in maybe, I don't know, last couple months. But you can see they're making impossible movements, disappearing and reappearing. And you can see this one's called the Class 8 Hornet. And yeah, so people are like disappointed. They're saying it's too grainy, you can't tell what it is. This is their first time releasing the video, so there's more to come. They're still doing their job. They are actually summoning these things. But yeah, just wanted you guys to check it out. It was just released yesterday. Somebody mentioned they wish they knew where these were filmed at. I agree, I wish so too, but here it is.
A strange man jumps into a cab past midnight, and something about him is deeply unsettling. The driver glances in the mirror, his hands tighten on the wheel. Something feels wrong. To shake the tension, the driver casually asks what he does. Without hesitation, the man says he's the President of the United States. The driver's heart pounds. Did he hear that right? The President in his cab at 2 a.m.? Minutes later, they stop in front of a massive, gated mansion. The driver refuses to leave until the President is safely inside. Says the area isn't safe at night. The man hesitates. A security guard steps out, eyes narrowing. The man leans in and whispers something. The guard blinks, then sighs. "Come in, Mr. President." As the cab leaves, the guard suddenly pulls out his gun and asks, "Who the hell are you?" Because moments ago,
Pope Francis has been pronounced dead, tragically passing away this morning, shocking the world as Easter, one of the most religious days of the year, was his last day on earth. But do you remember the prophecy of popes that said Pope Francis would be the final pope before the end of the world? We need to discuss that. The Vatican heartbreakingly confirmed his death, saying he died at 7:30 this morning after his lifelong struggle with double pneumonia. He was in and out of the hospital all year and actually had a part of his lung removed when he was younger. He was the 266th pope and maybe the last ever. He had a refreshing take on LGBTQ advocacy. He actually cared about climate change and wanted to protect the earth. And he had so much compassion for all humans. And it's actually crazy because he addressed literally the whole world just hours before his death, giving his blessing on Easter. But it's more insane that one of the last people to ever see him alive was J.D. Vance. They were supposed to have an even longer meeting, but it was cut short because of his condition. But in the months leading up to his death, he was scrutinizing the Trump administration for their stance on immigration deportation policies. I mean, and how can we forget the iconic video of him swatting away Donald Trump's hand and putting him in his place and then walking away? But we should all be be scared. Because in a terrifying prophecy, literally titled The Prophecy of the Popes, written by Saint Malachi, in 1959, so this is like 5 centuries old, they listed each name and description of every single pope ever, with the final one written down being Pope Francis, and prophesied that he would be the strong leader who would get us through dark and tumultuous times where other horrible leaders in the world were trying to take the world down with them, and that he would get us through, but right after he met his end, we would all meet our end, and it would lead to the destruction of Rome and the onbringing of the final judgment. There's literally so many books written about this, and since we are in this world where terrible leaders are being elected and just destroying everything, I wouldn't be surprised if this came true. So good luck, everyone.
Yeah, that's hilarious. See, I told y'all he didn't like Trump. See how he did look. I mean, I put it in at this like earlier, but like now we got to see bro talk about it, and like I don't know. Now I'm confused. You see how he just said like the Pope died from double pneumonia, but the other dude said he died from a coma.
Hey guys, so I have another story for you. This is an older story. I've shared it before. I'm going to condense it down to one video. This is probably without question the spookiest call I've ever been on in my law enforcement career, and I hope it never gets topped. But anyhow, it was several years ago. I was on the overnight shift. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was around Halloween time, so it's already got that spooky season feel. This elderly gentleman who lived out in the country, he drove to town for whatever reason and went to this 24/7 gas station, asked the clerk if he could use the phone to call 911. The clerk, of course, said yes. He calls 911 and tells dispatch something along the lines of like, my wife's missing or she's been kidnapped or something, yada, yada, yada. And to have the officer meet me at our residence. So I go to the residence, and as I pull up and I get out, I don't see any red flags, if you will. Normally in a situation like this, you would see or hear some commotion. You would have something standing out to you. I'm not getting that. It looks very calm, very quaint. I don't know what I'm really walking into at this point. I have terrible officer awareness. I walk up the driveway and I pass his truck, and he hops out of the truck behind me, and as I turn around, he's got a handgun. And he's extremely agitated and upset and emotional at the fact that his wife is missing or kidnapped or whatever it was. So after a few minutes of coaxing the handgun from him and make it safe, I put it on the hood of his truck. I'm like, okay, talk to me, what's going on? And he says, okay, follow me to the house. So I follow him to the house, and as he gets to the door, he says, and I will never forget this, he says, do you believe in God? And I said, yes, I do. And he says, good. And that means you believe in the devil. And I'm like, what? So he opens the door. He says, forgive me for all the candles. He says, that's the only way we can keep it out or something like that. And there's no candles, but yet he's tiptoeing through the living room like he doesn't want to step over these mysterious candles. There's no candles. So as I'm walking in the living room and all the furniture's gone, it's just an empty room. Like, I don't know if they're moving or they just moved in. It's just completely bare and empty. Although at every window around the home, I see a rifle or a shotgun, and I see spent shell casings and bullet casings. And I'm like, hey, bro, what's up with this? And he said, oh, I've been shooting out at these demons outside all night, trying to keep them out from coming in the house. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, well, we're not going to have that right now. So he lets me make all of his firearms safe, and talking to him, trying to figure out where his wife may be. And then we're in this cabin-esque home, and there's a loft, and I see above us his elderly wife comes to the edge of the loft, and she's wearing this white, like, robe, you know, like something Ebenezer Scrooge would wear. A little creepy looking, you know, and she's just standing there staring down at us. And I'm like, all right, she seems sensible. I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to talk to her, because obviously he's the issue, and we need to get him some mental health treatment. So I'm like, hey, I found her. And he's like, oh, that's great news. That's great news. You know, he's all excited. He's calmed down now. He's like, she's safe. She's sound. Good to go. So I'm like, we should be in and out in 5 minutes. So as I walk up the steps, I go up there and I talk to her, and I'm like, hey, ma'am, your husband's having some mental health issues. And she's like, I know. And she's like, I don't know what to do with him. I'm like, I get it. You know, boys will be boys, but I'm going to have to take him to the hospital. And I'm like, I'm going to probably need you to help me out and, you know, convince him to go with me. And I think we're on the same page, and all of a sudden she says, am I in trouble? And I'm like, no. Why would you be in trouble? And she's like, well, I'm curious. And I'm like, well, he's not in any trouble either. But why did you say, are you in trouble? Like, there's something not right about how she said it. And she said, well, because I fed it. I'm like, fed what? She's like, I was feeding the devil babies. And I'm like, what? Like, I get it. He's having a mental health issue, but it's very rare, if not impossible, in my opinion, to have two people having both the same mental health issues. And I'm like, run that back again. And she said, I stole babies, and the only way I could keep the devil happy and away from us, because he broke into the home, was to throw them over the loft, because I'm only safe when I'm up here, elevated, and the devil's down there. I throw the babies over the loft or the balcony, and the devil feeds them. Or I feed the devil. But the problem is he won't leave me alone now. He's attached to me, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go back down and talk to your husband. He's the more sensible one. I'm like, I'm never sleeping again. So I go down the steps. I talk to the husband. I'm like, bro, both you and your wife are going to have to take a trip with me to the hospital. And he is now freaking out. He's trying to run outside. I don't know why. I'm trying to wheel him in. I'm like, dude, I don't want you to go out there. It's pitch black. It's the middle of the night. Like, what is it out there that you need to do? And he's like, I need to get the devil away. I need to get the devil away from my house. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, the devil is throwing the babies into the fire. And I'm like, what? And he said the demons are dancing around the fire, and the devil is in the middle, and he's throwing the babies in the fire, and it's making the fire bigger, and I have to go put out the fire. And I'm like, bro, come back to reality. There is nothing out there. I am looking, and it is pitch black out there. And he's like, oh, you messed up. He's like, you just pissed them off. They're all looking at you now. And he's like, oh, they're running over here. They're running over here. And I'm like, well, shut the shades. Like, I shut the shades, and I'm like, now I'm wigging out. And I'm like, all right, look, we need to come back to reality. Luckily at that time, another deputy shows up. The ambulance shows up. We both convince them to go to the hospital and get some mental health treatment. They do the same thing at the hospital. The doctor's like, I'm going to send him away, and hopefully we can get this fixed. They went away for a few days. They came back, and I never dealt with them again. I never had to go to the house again. Sadly, I did hear that the elderly lady later passed on a few years later. But to this day, I've never had a call where both people were suffering from the same delusion. And in my opinion, there was something extra sinister involved there that's beyond what medicine or therapy could solve, if you will. But I want to know your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Dude, what I'm thinking is, why the heck do they have guns? He said there was a gun at every window. Like, why do people with mental health issues, how did he get evaluated for guns? That's hella dangerous, dude.
I gave a message to follow you, but you're hitting double strangers! Come on!
Oh my God, what is this 9-month cruise and why did people go on it? So for those of you who haven't seen yet, Royal Caribbean has promoted a 9-month cruise. Basically for this cruise, you go to like 60 plus countries. You can buy it in segments. So you can go see like all the Americas, all of Asia, all of Europe. Like they basically just have it so that you're on a ship for 9 straight months just going and touring the world. I did not know anything about this. We're a big cruise family, okay? And I'm shocked that we didn't hear anything about this. But I'm more shocked that people, like, actually went on this 9-month cruise. Obviously, I'm starting to already hear drama about it. Mind you, this cruise just took off like last month or something like that. I'm already hearing constant drama about it, about racism on the ship, about elitism on the ship. Some people are getting to go at a town hall meeting some little fake government on the Royal Caribbean. What are you guys doing? And also on top of that, this sounds like some sort of book social experiment, something that's gonna come out and be in somebody's psych class in a couple years. Because there's no way that you thought putting a bunch of wealthy to moderately wealthy strangers on a ship that holds 2,500 people for 9 straight months is even close to a good or safe idea. Anyway, so if anybody's on the ship and wants to...
How do ships go for that long? Like, do they have to refuel? Like, let's say, like, since they're doing 9 months, do they have to eventually stop at, like, a month or two and then refuel the ship? Like, I think that's what happens, right? That has to happen, in my opinion. I don't think they'd go for 9 months straight. I've never been on a cruise, so that's what I'm asking.
Did anybody see that video that went viral this last week of a woman that literally proved that she got abducted? Her name is Tina, right? She had about 100K followers. I say had because she posted screenshots on X showing how she apparently got banned. But she got banned right in the midst of her video going viral. I think it had around like 5 million views the last time that I looked at it. But on the video that went viral though, hopefully she gets her account back. I mean, this is actually pretty crazy. She set up cameras outside of her house in different locations to catch different angles of her house because she kept talking about having these dreams that felt like real life to her. Apparently she's had these since she was a child, which I've heard this from many other individuals as well, but apparently she was surrounded by these voices that were speaking in a language of which she never heard before. But she was also talking about them implanting something inside of her skin, which is fucking insane because she actually showed this spot, right? And it doesn't look like a birthmark or anything, which is crazy because it literally looks kind of like mine. Like, I don't know if you can see that right there. Yeah, right there. Fucking weird. It's always tripped me out, man. I never actually thought of like getting an x-ray or something done. But anyways, this isn't about me. But then she was talking about having to wear this weird ass helmet that she described to have like anti-gravity like qualities. Crazy shit. But what I noticed was really interesting in her videos before her account actually got banned was that she had a couple of videos of where she recorded this huge ass owl that sat on a branch outside of her window just staring in. Crazy shit, but since she's always felt like she's been abducted since she was little, her and her husband chose to set up cameras around the house and record at night. But this is where shit got really intense because on every single camera, okay, there were 6 cameras around like 2 or 3 a.m. I can't remember, I can't specifically remember what was on those videos. It was pretty small. But she sped up to the point around 2 or 3 a.m. and this is where the cameras started glitching the fuck out and they actually blacked out for about 5 minutes. But when one came back on, you could see not only like a huge shadow just drift over the house. And I shit you not, a lot of you probably saw that video as well. It was like a giant ship, but it wasn't circular like a normal UFO. It was like triangular, you could see a series of lights. It just slowly hovered over the house and then went upward at a faster pace and then all of a sudden shot into the sky like a fucking missile. It's really interesting though, because when I lived in Colorado, I had the privilege of having 2 experiences of my own of seeing 2 UFOs. One was over Denver airport. That in itself was fucking insane. It was around 5 a.m. and this thing just shot over Denver airport. I mean, the power to the entire airport literally went out. They had to cancel so many flights for like 6 hours. But the 2 that I saw in Colorado, they were circular. They weren't triangular, you know? And I obviously know that there's certain technology that, you know, I mean, I had the privilege, my dad was actually a warrant for in the Navy, and I actually had the privilege of going inside of Cheyenne Mountain down to a very extensive level. And my dad was probably not supposed to tell me about some shit that went on down there, but let's just say that there's a lot of shit that you have probably never seen in your entire life. We'll save that conversation for another time because I really wanted to talk about what her husband talked about. Because her husband said the morning after, and I tried to save this fucking video, but it wouldn't let me. I don't know if she had her settings set up in a certain way or whatever, but anyways. But her husband himself said that he felt like he had this dream of which he woke up and apparently went to go check on her. He turned the flashlight on his phone and everything. He was talking about how the dream felt way too real and there's no way that it was a dream. He felt like he was actually up in the middle of the night, but this is where fucking shit gets weird, man. I mean, you could see the panic on this man's face when he was talking into the camera. He said all of a sudden the dream just came to an end. He doesn't have any recognition of anything afterward in that dream. And then when they woke up the next morning, he found his phone on the ground with the fucking flashlight on. He said he woke up directly next to her. She was in a different position of what she was already in, which, I mean, obviously people roll over in their sleep. But to wake up and find that phone with the flashlight still on, I mean, that gives me fucking goosebumps, dude. I really hope she gets her account back, because that was one of the most shocking series of videos I think I've ever seen on TikTok. And if you saw it yourself, then you understand my reaction and theirs at that. I mean, what if, you know? How would you really know? But I don't know, man. I can't find any duets or stitches of these videos. I don't know if she had like privacy settings or something on. But I know thousands of you had to have seen at least one of those videos. I mean, if you did, please comment in the comment section down below. All I'm saying is you could tell if somebody's being genuine. You could tell if their body language. I mean, these people were genuinely terrifying.
Famous autopsies on February 8th of 2007, Anna Nicole Smith is found dead in her hotel room in the Bahamas. She was just 39 years old. Her autopsy was performed that following day, and she was rolled in measuring 71 inches tall. Her COD was acute combined drug intoxication. Here are all the drugs that were found in her system. I'm not even going to try to pronounce them all. I would just end up butchering them all, so you can read them here. She had infection in her spleen. Her heart was mildly discolored. She had a bloody fluid found in her stomach, and her thyroid was inflamed. There was edema in her lungs and incisions on her butt and thighs, specifically on her left cheek. There was abscesses, but on both there was extensive scarring. Went on to take cultures from these abscesses, and they did grow bacteria. Anna had struggled with substance abuse and depression for a long time. She'd lost her husband in 1995. This really took a toll on her, and then it really got dark for her when she lost her son in September of 2006 to a drug overdose. On top of all this, she was treated very poorly by a lot of people around her and in the media, and I truly hope that she is now resting in peace.
Imagine one day living your life, and then boom, the universe opens you up, you see all this light, and your consciousness starts expanding. And although this sounds crazy, this is the science behind what's called spontaneous spiritual awakenings. A fascinating study looked at over 150 people's spiritual awakening stories. And no, there was no use of psychedelics, drugs, or other substances. And the universal themes of these experiences was that they felt connected to a universal source energy that was full of love, bliss, and intelligence. So here's the science behind this. These people scored higher on what's called temporal brain liability, which is a measure of the part of your brain which is more sensitive to these altered states of consciousness. And this is the part of the brain that is connected to deja vu, near-death experiences, and other mystical events. So people who score higher in temporal lobe liability basically are more primed to be in touch with these higher altered states of consciousness. Here's the thing, this doesn't only include regular people. Another study looked at scientists and academics that also had these spiritual awakenings. And in the study, they say that these spiritual awakenings are more common, predictable, and healing than we think. Where 98% of these scientists reported major improvements in their life, key takeaway here is that these mystical experiences are not woo-woo. Rather than being judged and misdiagnosed, these experiences are not breakdowns, rather they are breakthroughs.
An unprecedented in-flight emergency in Belize captured on camera. Take a look at this. Police say an American citizen hijacked a small plane. Yesterday, the man stabbed 2 passengers and the pilot before being shot by one of the injured passengers. The whole drama in the skies took nearly 2 hours. NBC's Kathy Park joins us with the very latest. Kathy, what exactly happened here?
Yeah, Jose, this certainly was a wild and disturbing story. It all began playing out Thursday morning, 8:30 local time. You had 14 passengers, 2 crew members who were on board the plane known as the Tropic Air. They were flying from Corozal and was headed to San Pedro when authorities say the plane was actually hijacked by a man who has now been identified as Akinwale Taylor. As you mentioned, things took a very violent turn because officials say Taylor stabbed 2 passengers and the pilot, and ultimately one of those wounded passengers actually shot and killed Taylor. The plane circled the air for nearly 2 hours before touching down safely, which is just incredible. Here's more from officials about the incident and the hijacker. Take a listen.
Police received information that there was a Tropic Air plane that departed the Corozal municipal airstrip, and shortly after taking off from the airstrip, the plane was hijacked by a passenger on board who has been identified as one Akinwale Taylor.
We don't know the situation.
We don't know why he wanted to go back to the United States or what was the reason of it. And I mean, for right now, we don't have any more information on that.
And Jose, the Belize commissioner actually said that Taylor was a U.S. military veteran, and our NBC affiliate in St. Louis spoke to the nephew of the alleged hijacker who saw his uncle about 2 weeks ago. He said that Taylor is from the St. Louis area. He's a married father of 4 and showed no signs of mental health issues. So all of this right now is just a real big shock to their family. Meanwhile, a school official in that area has confirmed to NBC News that Taylor was a teacher and also coached high school track in that community. And Jose, as you can imagine, this is still an ongoing investigation here in the U.S., also in Belize. And right now, officials don't have a motive behind the hijacking.
Dude, way too much aviation incidents are going on, bro. That's making me scared to fly, I'm not gonna lie.
I seen a video of that mama who lost her 10-day-old baby in a house fire. Or so she thought. Bitch, why the fuck her house catch on fire? Once the detectives in the fire, you feel me, 911 people coming shit, bitch, they don't see no baby remains, but her baby is gone. So they telling her maybe because the baby was so tiny, only 10 days old, the bones didn't come out how they supposed to if it was a regular person who caught on fire and passed away. And they basically told this lady like, yes, I'm sorry, your daughter passed in the fire. The lady is like, I know I'm not fucking delusional because I guess she ran in the house while the fire was just starting up and she went to the crib to get her baby before it got too big and the baby wasn't in the crib. But everybody's like saying like, oh, it's mother's delusion. Like she's just delusional. This is a crazy situation. Like they're just basically letting her say whatever story she wants to say. In their head, she's making it up. And in her head, she's dead the fuck serious. Boom. 5, 6, 7 years pass. This lady has no daughter. Daughter gone. Or so she thought. She go to a little family function. I don't know if it was with her husband or her ex-husband. But long story short, she's still cool with the family of whoever the baby daddy was. So she goes to that family function. They eating, they drinking, they having a good time. She sees this little girl who's 5, 6, 7 years old, around that age. And she looking at the little girl like, damn, like that really do look like my daughter. Mind you, that had to be mother's intuition because I don't know how you could tell if somebody's your kid from newborn. Like it was only 10 days old. This baby has developed so much, but she knew that was her fucking daughter. She didn't want to scare the daughter off though. So she goes over to play with the little girl and gets a strand of her hair and keeps it. That motherfucker act like she pulling gum out of the baby hair, but really keep the strands of the hair and take it to go get it.
Know that on August 15, 1977, astronomers in Ohio captured a mysterious radio signal from deep space that was so strong and unique it almost left researchers speechless. The signal, named WOW, was the intensely strong burst of radio waves that lasted about 72 seconds, which is unusually long for normal radio waves coming from space. What made this signal even more intriguing is that unlike most radio signals, this signal was detected at a frequency of 1420 megahertz, meaning it was a narrowband frequency, and such signals are not natural, but almost a form of communication. However, after studying more about this signal, scientists figured out it came from the constellation of Sagittarius, specifically the region near the star group M55. But before the scientists could confirm any of this, the signal disappeared suddenly and was never detected again. It could be possible that the signal was interrupted, or the civilization was destroyed by another civilization. We may never know about this signal ever again, and can only wonder if we are truly alone in this universe. If you find this video interesting, comment down your thoughts and follow for more.
Pope Francis passed away at the age of 88 this morning from a bout of pneumonia. And this is Pope Francis was seen as a bright spot in a dark world. He tirelessly championed the marginalized and the forgotten. He challenged powerful institutions and humble parishes alike to welcome the stranger, protect the planet, and walk in solidarity with the poor. Pope Francis also sparred with conservative Americans over their treatment of the LGBT and immigrants several times throughout his tenure. He was also the first pope to address a joint session of Congress, and his visit to America was historic. Right, and this, as he once said, it's hypocritical to call yourself a Christian and to chase away a refugee or someone seeking help, someone who is hungry or thirsty. Toss out someone who is in need of my help. If I say I am Christian but do these things, I'm a hypocrite. Right? And Pope Francis didn't just talk the talk. He also walked the walk. He took refugees into the Vatican and he washed the feet of prisoners regularly. Even on his last day, he reminded us that holiness isn't distant or inaccessible, but found in daily acts of kindness, courage, and mercy.
Most Americans don't know that the entire east side of the US is technically an island. From a geographic perspective, everything east of the Mississippi River is almost completely surrounded by water. To the east, there's the Atlantic Ocean. To the south, the Gulf of Mexico. And to the west, the massive Mississippi River system, which stretches from Minnesota all the way down to Louisiana. This river acts like a giant inland wall, cutting off nearly 40% of the country. In fact, The Mississippi is so wide and deep that before bridges were built, crossing it was almost like crossing a sea. And when you zoom out, the land between the Atlantic and the Mississippi is enclosed enough that it meets some definitions of an island, land surrounded by water on all sides. So next time you look at a map of the US, realize the East Coast isn't just a region, it's kind of its own island.
I mean, I see what he's saying, but north of that, there's not really too much water. I mean, there's the Great Lakes, but like other than that, there's not really any sort of river that's like from Minnesota where he pointed all the way to freaking Maine.
Wildlife photographer left stunned after capturing a rare orca on film.
I feel like since orcas are smart, they're kind of like humans. I feel like those orcas in the pod kind of make fun of that dude. They either one make fun of him or two look at him and like a god, just because he's different.
There are these experiments where they trained people to experience anxiety, but as determination, because exactly the same physical state could be experienced completely different. And what they discovered is that at first it's really hard, but you practice, and then eventually it becomes really automatic. So the first thing to understand is that
Dr. Lisa Feldman-Barrett is a world-leading neuroscientist.
Her groundbreaking research reveals that emotions like anxiety and trauma are built by the brain.
And we have the power to control them.
the story is that you're born with these innate emotion circuits, but you're not born with the ability to control them. That's false. Really what's happening is that your brain is not reacting, it's predicting. And every action you take, every emotion you have is a combination of the remembered past, including any trauma. And so you don't have a sense of agency about it because it happens really automatically, faster than you can blink your eyes.
How does this change how we should treat trauma?
Sometimes in life, you are responsible for changing something, not because you're to blame, but because you're the only person who can. I mean, I had a daughter who was clinically depressed, was getting D's in school, she wasn't sleeping, she was miserable. At first, she was so resistant, but then she made the decision that she wanted to be helped.
And did she recover?
Yes, she did. So if you want to change who you are, what you feel, understanding these basic operating principles is the key to living a meaningful life.
So what is step one to being able to make that change?
So
your heart stops as he turns toward your hiding spot. He charges at you, and you know you're about to become his next snack. But just as his jaws are about to close around you, whoosh, your mother pushes you out into the open ocean. For a split second, you feel relief, until you hear another whoosh behind you. Oh no, your murderous brother just got birthed too. You spin around, expecting him to charge at you, but something's different. He looks just as scared as you are. Both of you stare in awe at your mother, her entire body covered in thick armor plates like a swimming tank. Meanwhile, you're about as threatening as a blob of jelly, your soft body completely defenseless. Before either of you can process your vulnerability, your mother disappears into the dark water. No goodbye, no defense tips, not even a try not to get eaten. Great. You're alone in the open ocean with your cannibalistic brother. A shadow passes overhead, and both of you dart for the same hiding spot. Turns out nothing brings siblings together quite like the threat of being eaten by something bigger. The dark shadow passes, but neither of you move. After what feels like forever, you peek out from your hiding spot. Your brother does the same, and for a moment, you just stare at each other. Funny how quickly someone goes from, I'm going to eat you, to please don't leave me alone when they're scared. But there's no time for a family reunion. Your stomach is already reminding you that you haven't eaten since, well, ever. You drift away from your brother, both of you too hungry to care about each other anymore. That's when you spot it, a small turtle floating lazily near the surface. Perfect first target. You charge forward, mouth open for the kill. But the turtle's been playing this game longer than you. One flip of its fins and it dives down faster than you can follow. What happens next is just embarrassing. Your mouth opens so fast it creates some kind of underwater vacuum cleaner effect. Instead of turtle soup, you get a mouthful of sand and what might be a dead jellyfish. Pfft, you spit everything out, coughing up grit and trying not to die of shame. But wait, that suction thing. Maybe it's not a design flaw after all. Your specialized jaw joints are creating one of nature's first vacuum cleaners, turning your armored head into a prehistoric Hoover. You spot a smaller fish nearby. This time you try something different. Instead of charging in like a maniac, you drift closer slowly. When you're just close enough, you open your mouth and, slurp, the fish gets sucked right in like it's being pulled by an invisible string. First meal, success. Sure, it's not as impressive as the prey your parents hunt, but hey, you're learning. 3 days pass as you hide near the surface, catching whatever small prey you can find. That's when you notice something strange. Your skin feels different. Hard patches are developing, especially around your head, like you're growing your own helmet. But there's a catch. This natural helmet makes it impossible to turn your head and check your surroundings. You have to turn your whole body just to look behind you, and this is just the beginning. You've got 10 times more armor coming, covering your entire body. Days turn into weeks, and your body keeps changing. What started as small patches of hardness around your head is spread like a living suit of armor. First, thick plates cover your skull completely. Then your neck and shoulders start feeling heavier as armor spreads there too. It's like watching yourself transform into a living tank piece by piece. A month passes, and now you're covered in overlapping plates from head to tail, each one harder than rock. Your head alone is encased in armor so thick it could stop a great whale's bite. The trade-off? You move like you're wearing a full suit of medieval armor underwater. Just checking if something's behind you means turning your entire body around. Your neck is basically locked in place by all this protection. But it's not just armor you're growing. You can feel the power building in your jaw muscles as your armor thickens. You might only be a few months old, but you're already a swimming weapon. All this new protection has made you bold. Maybe too bold. You find yourself drifting into deeper waters, territories you wouldn't have dared enter before. That's when you spot it. An ancient shark, about twice your size, tearing into something. The smell of blood fills the water, and your stomach growls. Maybe you can steal a bite while it's distracted. You drift closer, confidence growing with each paddle of your armored fins. The shark's so focused on its meal it hasn't noticed you yet. Just a little closer. Crack. Your jaw snaps shut on the closest piece of meat, and that's when you learn something amazing. Your bite snaps shut in less than a 50th of a second, creating a pressure wave that stuns nearby prey. Before the shark can even turn, you've already sliced clean through its prey. But now you've got its attention. It spins towards you, clearly not happy about sharing. It charges, teeth aiming for your neck, but instead of flesh it gets a mouthful of armor. You feel the impact, but your plates hold. The shark pulls back, probably wondering what kind of freak of nature it just tried to eat. Now it's your turn. You might be slow to turn, but your jaws are anything but. You open your mouth and snap. The water actually shockwaves around your bite, like a tiny underwater explosion. The shark barely dodges, losing a chunk of its fin in the process. It takes one look at its missing fin, then at your scissor-like jaws, and decides this meal isn't worth the trouble. As you watch it swim away, you realize something. You're not just protected by this armor, you're powered by it. The same plates that make it hard to move give your bite enough force to slice through pretty much everything. After sending that shark packing, you learn something important. Your armor might be great for fighting off big predators, but eating is a whole different game. Your massive armored body isn't exactly built for chasing down lunch. Every time you spot some tasty-looking fish, they've disappeared before you can even turn your tank-like body around. But then you remember that weird suction thing you can do. The next time you spot a school of fish, instead of attempting a clumsy chase, you just open your mouth. Whoosh! The water rushes in like a vacuum, pulling in not just one fish, but half the school, along with a nice helping of sand and seaweed. Not your most elegant meal, but hey, when you're hungry, who cares about table manners? Months pass, and you're getting better. Now, at nearly full size, you're bigger than a great white shark, stretching over 20 feet long. Your armored head alone is the size of a car, and your bite force? If ships existed back then, you could have chomped through their metal hull like it was made of cardboard. In these ancient seas, there aren't many creatures that can match your size. Those long-necked plesiosaurs, they see you coming and swim the other way. Most other armored fish are half your size. They're more like snacks than competition. The only things that make you slightly nervous are the massive eurypterids, sea scorpions the size of crocodiles. But even they think twice before messing with your scissor jaws. Swimming through your territory one day, you notice something different. The water feels warmer, and there are more of your kind around than usual. That's when you spot her. Nearly twice your size and covered in armor so thick it makes yours look like a cheap costume. Turns out female Dunkleosteus are bigger than males, because of course they are. You're not the only one who's noticed her. Other males are showing up, all of us probably thinking the same thing. What follows is possibly the least graceful courtship in ocean history. Imagine several living tanks trying to impress a bigger tank. You try showing off your jaw strength, snapping at the water to create those signature shockwaves. She seems about as impressed as you'd expect. The mating itself is quick and awkward. Try getting romantic when you're both covered in armor plates and can barely turn your heads. But hey, at least you don't eat your mate like some other fish do. Once it's done, she swims off without so much as a goodbye. Turns out even prehistoric fish weren't big on commitment. Your life of chomping through anything that moves starts catching up with you. The hunting grounds that used to be full of prey are getting emptier by the day. Turns out being an unstoppable killing machine has a downside. Eventually, you run out of things to kill. You start seeing new types of fish in these waters. Smaller, faster, more adaptable. They don't have fancy armor or buzzsaw jaws, but they can survive on the tiny prey you can't even catch. Your specialized weapons, the armor, the bone-crushing bite, the suction feeding, they're all useless against schools of fish too small to bother with. Your massive size and armor that once made you invincible are now just dead weight. You find yourself swimming further and further for fewer and fewer meals. Other Dunkleosteus are disappearing too. Some starve to death, their armored bodies sinking to the ocean floor. Others try hunting in waters too shallow and get stranded like beached whales in metal suits. One day, exhausted from hunger, you spot something big enough to eat. But as you approach, you realize it's another Dunkleosteus, even more desperate than you. For a moment, you both just float there, two living tanks facing the same grim reality. We've eaten ourselves into extinction. Nature's final joke: the ultimate predator wasn't killed by something bigger or stronger, we just got too good at being bad.
The Pope is dead. So what happens now? Pope Francis was the head of the largest single religious denomination on earth, with 1.4 billion followers. So to give you an idea of the enormous processes that have just been set into motion, there is an entire 400-page handbook that's only purpose is to guide religious officials through the countless rites and rituals of the funeral process. There's even a traditional method to verify that a pope has died, which is calling the Pope's name 3 times with no response. Pope Francis, however, overhauled the entire book last year to simplify the processes. His reasoning was to emphasize that a pope should not be seen as a powerful man of this world, rather simply a disciple of Christ. Just 2 of the many changes that he made was that 1, he will no longer be placed in the traditional 3 coffins made of cypress, lead, and oak, and 2, he also didn't want to be buried in the Vatican like most, rather in the Basilica of St. Mary Major, which is about half an hour across Rome. The Pope's fisherman ring will be ceremonially destroyed, traditionally to prevent its use in forging documents, but also to symbolize the end of his authority. The Vatican has now also begun an official mourning period known as Novendiale, which lasts 9 days. Pope Francis's body will soon be placed in St. Peter's Basilica, where soon tens of thousands are expected to file past and pay respects in person. Following that, a grand funeral mass will be held in the same basilica, where countless world leaders and important figures will attend, and it will also be broadcast worldwide. Then, after all of that, the intense process of choosing a new pope will begin. And I say intense because high-ranking officials in the Catholic Church from around the world will make their way to Rome and go into what's called a conclave. Now, the word conclave itself comes from the Latin word cum clave, meaning with a key. And that's actually a nod to the old practice of locking these Catholic officials away until a decision is reached. That tradition began in the 13th century after one of the elections dragged on for nearly 3 years. So people in the town literally locked them in and removed the roof to hurry them up. And today's conclaves still honor that same spirit of seclusion. Once inside the Sistine Chapel, those officials cut off all communication from the outside world. No phones, no internet, no news, all to make sure that the deliberations are only guided by prayer and discussion. Now, who they choose and why is even more interesting. So I've made an even longer video, and that'll go up on YouTube this evening. See you there.
Yeah, man. R.I.P. the Pope. I mean, I wonder who the next pope will be. It's going to be like a whole process to choose the next pope. It's going to be interesting to see what we have coming, because apparently one of the dudes said when the pope died, the world's supposed to end, so we'll see.
You hear something terrifying? The prophecy of the popes. Oh boy.
This book was found in the Vatican archives, predicted every single pope from in 1143 all the way to our current pope. But the scary thing is, after Pope Francis, the last one, it just says Judgment Day.
Oh gosh.
It literally ends after Pope Francis?
Yes. The creepiest thing that I saw inside St. Paul's Basilica, bordering the whole inner sanctuary, is every single pope. But what's weird is that there's only a certain amount of markers to where you can put a picture. There's one left after Pope Francis. They have always said that once that last slot is filled, it will be the end of the world. What he predicted, the time it took to go from the first pope that he wrote about, halfway mark, was 422 years. And he's saying from the middle one to the end, another 422 years will be the end of the world. If you do 422 years from the middle pope, which was 1585, that year is 2027.
Dang!
It's even weirder. Pope John the 23rd, and he said that the end of the world would happen 2,000 years plus Christ's life. So that adds up to 2027 as well.
I thought Jesus died at 33. Like, I swear they've been saying that Jesus died at 33, not 27.
Pay attention to the water, not the skies. That's what I told all of you, but did you listen? No. And now multiple reports coming out of Florida are confirming from sailors, Navy officers, military personnel that there is in fact a mothership under the water off the coast of Daytona Beach, Florida. Now, there have also been sightings of over 1,000 different orbs that are floating above this mothership. I kept trying to tell you, I'm an air sign, but something kept saying it's more about the water. It's the water. They're not showing up in the skies. There are going to be versions of them showing up in the sky, but pay attention to the water. When I got into that council meeting, all I could feel afterwards was we're being misguided. We're being misdirected. It's not over the skies. It's in our oceans. And now people are coming forward claiming and saying that they've seen it. So and before you say photos or didn't exist, I have so many friends from Florida sending me videos and photos. I have them, but TikTok has this thing where it removes the video if you attach those. So I'm just going to say, take what you will, leave what you won't, but I told you, pay attention to the water, not the sky. And obviously anything is for entertainment, education, conversation purposes only, but
I mean, the water makes sense because if you guys really think about the evolution of life, everything started in the water. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do have like some sort of highly intelligent species just living in our oceans that we can't detect, and they know how to use their own sort of technology so we can't detect them.
This is the boarding of Delta Flight 264 from JFK to Paris on November 26th, one of the busiest travel days of the year. Agents at Gate B38 usher passengers toward the jet bridge after they show their passports and tickets. Except this woman, the one in the backpack and gray hoodie. Video obtained by ABC News shows Svetlana Dali blending with the crowd, never handing over a boarding pass. That's because she didn't have one. The gate attendants are seen here helping other passengers as Dali passes by. Federal prosecutors say Delta agents who were busy helping ticketed passengers board did not stop her or ask her to present a boarding pass before she boarded the plane.
I think she had her game plan, and it just worked that her game plan really worked. Glom onto the group. And she was able to do that and get through.
By the time the flight crew realized Dali did not have a seat, the plane was on its way to France, and Dali flew as a stowaway. Before she had even reached the gate, Dali went through security without a boarding pass. The FBI says she was able to make it by going through a special lane for crew members. This video, obtained by ABC News, shows her passing through the machine, getting a pat-down, then walking to the conveyor belt to retrieve her luggage. The criminal complaint says Dali conceded she is depicted in these images and told authorities she knew her conduct was illegal. The TSA tells us as a result of our review, additional security measures are now in place. TSA's security measures are always evolving to ensure this type of incident does not happen again. Delta says its security is sound, but in this case, deviation from standard procedures is the root cause.
But the fact that it happens is still very surprising that she was able to get through and do this.
Once Dali reached France, French authorities sent her back to the United States.
Please, help me. I don't want to go to the United States.
Ultimately, Dali was arrested and released on bail. That was revoked after federal agents said she cut off her ankle monitor and tried to cross the Peace Bridge on a bus to Canada. Dali has pleaded not guilty. She's being held at the federal jail in Brooklyn. Her attorney declined to comment on the video. She's due to return to court next week, guys.
This is everything that happened on the news today, but it's going to be simplified in 60 seconds. This new study has now revealed that plants can actually scream whenever they're under stress, it's just that we can't hear it. So basically, the study found that plants do actually emit an ultrasonic popping sound whenever they're stressed, and even though we can't hear it, it can be picked up with specialized equipment. So, if you haven't heard about this yet and you want to make sure you do not miss it, on April the 25th, there's going to be a rare smiley face alignment that's going to appear in the middle of the sky. This is all going to be because of Venus, Saturn, and the moon. They're going to be all lined up like this in a smiley face, but you're going to have to be up right before sunrise if you want to see it. This new study has now revealed that playing video games can improve your mental health and your life satisfaction. Okay. So basically, they tracked nearly 100,000 people over the span of 2 years, and they said that using consoles like the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 5 was linked to lower levels of psychological distress. Millions of iPhone users could now be owed money amid a new class action lawsuit. So if you guys remember, whenever the new iPhone was released several months ago, the whole marketing around it was the new AI features that was supposed to be revolutionary. The reason for this current lawsuit is because those features still to this day do not exist, so it was false advertising. I give you these news roundups every day, so make sure you add me and come back to me tomorrow.
What type of bullshit is this? The United States has officially banned all artificial dyes from food products effective immediately because these products are not healthy and they can be linked and cause stuff like cancer. So yes, a lot of your favorite snacks will be banned. I want y'all to take a good look at this list here. There won't be any M&Ms, any Reese's Pieces, strawberry Twizzlers, Skittles, I don't know what the fuck peeps are, jelly beans, drinks like Powerade, Crush Orange, and Sunny D Orange Strawberry that have dye in them, foods like pickles, some cherry pie filling, some barbecue sauce, and more importantly, the cereal. Oh my gosh, the Captain Crunch, Trix, Fruity Cheerios, Fruity Pebbles? And that's just the beginning, but whatever y'all do, please don't take Cinnamon Toast Crunch away from me, please don't. And so we worried about banning candy, banning cereal, and banning drinks. But you ain't gonna lower the price of these damn eggs? A food item that actually matters. And that's not as important enough to attend to as some damn candy? Are you serious right now?
Hell yeah, he's serious, and I'm glad he's serious, because why do we need to put dyes in our food? Like, they add no benefit than just making it look a certain color. It's actually crazy. So I 100% support that.
Every piece of paper you print can be traced back to the exact printer you used using a set of invisible tracking dots. The idea was originally developed by Canon and Xerox in the 1980s, possibly with a bit of a push from government agencies. They added a series of tiny faint yellow dots that act as a kind of barcode linking the piece of paper to the serial number of the printer it came from. The idea, so they say, is that law enforcement can use these dots to track suspicious documents like counterfeits. And in fact, these dots only became public knowledge decades after they first started being put into printers, when Dutch authorities used them to track down some counterfeiters. Pretty much all major printing brands still use these dots today.
Nostradamus' eerie prophecy has resurfaced after the death of 88-year-old Pope Francis. Following Pope Francis's death, a chilling Nostradamus prediction has come back into focus that some believe foretold this very moment. In 1555, the French astrologer predicted the death of a very old pontiff and a weakening of the Catholic Church. In Les Prophéties, Nostradamus wrote, "Through the death of a very old pontiff, a Roman of good age will be elected. Of him it will be said that he weakens his seat, but long will he sit and in mordant activity." He also referenced a mysterious successor. A young man of dark skin with the help of the great king will deliver the purse to another of red color. Though often debated, Nostradamus has been linked to major events like Hitler's rise and the COVID-19 pandemic. While scholars urge caution, the timing of the Pope's death has reignited interest in whether another of his prophecies has come true. However, the conclave, where cardinals gather in the Sistine Chapel to choose a successor, will not take place for at least 15 days.
Okay, we gotta talk about this egg UFO they found in Antarctica. The one that was leaked by a supposed government whistleblower on a certain website that shall not be named. This blower claims to have been part of the recovery mission of a very interesting UAP that's allegedly of ancient origin. UFOs and ancient civilizations? I'm about to blow a little something myself. Your mind. This egg-shaped UAP, as it's being called, was found deep in a cave in the Queen Elizabeth mountain range in Antarctica, along with a 700-year-old humanoid being in a stasis pod who was still alive, woke up, and talked to us. Reminder, this is just speculation from an anonymous post and is for entertainment purposes only. Did you hear that, algorithm? Our whistleblower says he worked for the US Department of Defense in a long Q&A style post with some pretty juicy BBC Info, starting the thread off by telling us this video was taken in November of 2022, showing what appears to be a large, smooth, spherical object, not unlike a lot of the Tic Tac UAPs we've been seeing, dangling at the end of a long rope being airlifted by a helicopter. He insists it's an egg-shaped UAP of ancient origin, made from an unknown metal that no one was able to open. Now, let me just preface everything I'm about to reveal by saying the site this leak was posted on isn't exactly known for being a reliable source of valid information, but on the other hand is known for being notoriously anonymous, which admittedly would be ideal for whistleblowers who wish to stay hidden. Either way, take this all with a grain of salt, because what is interesting is that the video shown here is extremely similar to another one released by News Nation, a legitimate American cable news and video network just days earlier. And once again, their video shows an egg-shaped UAP in the same night vision filter dangling at the end of a long rope hanging from a helicopter, which they confirm was leaked to them by another whistleblower that they themselves validated. Two separate videos just a few days apart, both with the same looking egg UFO. Is there something to this, or is it all just a coordinated distraction? Along with the video, News Nation also interviewed Jake Barber, a decorated US Air Force veteran who was contracted by the DoD as a helicopter pilot for crash retrieval, and he reveals that some of his retrievals were definitely not of human origin. He admits that he was sent on helicopter retrievals of unknown objects that he would extract and transport with a long rope, missions that took place at night, and mentions on one particular extraction as he looked down at the object he was carrying through his night vision lens, he saw, and I quote, an egg. A white egg with no visible propulsion system, which is exactly what we see in both of the videos, confirmed by the one manning the helicopter. And bro looks shell-shocked revealing these claims, saying he felt possessed by some ethereal energy during this job, and that shortly after, he and his colleagues got really sick, lost all of his hair, and his skin started to peel. Even developed heart problems he's never had before, so Stanford immunologist Gary Nolan took a look at his health diagnostics, insisting he's never seen anything like what Barber and his team experienced, even suggesting the sickness may not be of earthly origin. Jake's claims are also backed up by testimonies from many other of his fellow veterans, like Don Paul, another decorated Special Forces operator who worked with Jake Barber and confirms everything he's saying. Now, along with the egg UAP, the original whistleblower thread reveals that a coffin-like stasis pod was also recovered from the cave in Antarctica, which he says he has pics of, and well, he delivered. According to him, this pod they found had a humanoid being inside that was kept alive without the use of cryogenics. They brought it up to a lab, and very quickly the being awoke from its stasis sleep pod and started interacting with the humans. It was very tall, around 8 feet, with blue eyes, pale skin, white long hair, and a very human-like face, while at the same time looking very non-human. This, in ufology, would be what we call the Nordic aliens, or the tall whites. It proved to be very intelligent, learning English and German in less than a week, and was able to speak directly to the scientists, and can also communicate with select humans telepathically, which you would hear as your voice in your own head, like giving yourself a monologue. The being explained to the team that he was born here 700 years ago, and that his people saved humans from a creator race who engineered us to serve them millions of years ago, which is pretty much exactly what the ancient Sumerian Anunnaki myth is about, which the alien said humanity passed that story down from that very real event. The whistleblower says they even took photos of its thing, which, in case you're wondering, looks like ours, but the tip is more similar to a chimpanzee. His words, please don't look that up. He did also mention that our government has a sort of internal division on what they want to do with this sort of information. That everyone involved falls into one of two groups, those that want disclosure, revealing aliens and UFOs to the public, and those that don't. And that all the UAP Congress hearings, the News Nation video, the Jake Barber leaks we've been shown are all just distractions by the people who want to keep it hidden. Then he shows us additional photos of the egg, the stasis pod, the Antarctic cave they found everything in, which he claims is from the other group. The cave was part of a larger underground alien base that had been there for thousands of years but has since been abandoned. All they found there was the egg, the sleeping pod, and another metallic box filled with books written in Sumerian and Proto-European. One of the photos even feature what he calls unexplained writing, possibly hieroglyphics, on the walls. These caves were supposedly found in the Queen Elizabeth mountain range in Antarctica, which, oddly enough, this area area specifically is extremely pixelated on Google Earth when you zoom in. Meanwhile, other areas right beside it are full of detail. Is there any reason this region was kept off the radar? Our totally reliable and whistleblower finishes off with a very concerning message, claiming that something called the Dwight D. Eisenhower Alliance is very real, where former President Eisenhower met with some of these aliens way back in the 50s and traded American civilians in exchange for their technology, which they studied and developed in classified government projects. But by this time, the thread started going off the rails, with the OP claiming it was hijacked by government disinformation agents pretending to be him, posting another close-up shot of the infamous Egg UAP that even shows some sort of markings and writing all over it, but it could very well be AI at this point, which it kind of sucks that AI has sort of infiltrated our sphere of tangible evidence. And today, even real UFO and alien photos and videos could easily be dismissed as AI and mocked. Pics or it didn't happen is officially irrelevant. We do know, at least with a higher degree of certainty, that the News Nation video could very well be real, and this Egg UAP is currently in the government's possession. Unless this really is just a massive distraction to cover up what's really happening, which honestly would be even more terrifying. But if it is real, I have a feeling that whatever it is will be revealed to us sooner than later.
He said something in there about like how the Nordic alien was saying that everything else that we've been hearing is just a distraction. And again, I wouldn't doubt that. It's like what I was saying in my previous videos, where I was talking about Bob Lazar, how he could just come out and say all these crazy stuff about Area 51 and all these classified information. He's chilling. He's still in the US. He's chilling, not in prison. Didn't have to go to Russia like Edward Snowden. Didn't have to do none of that. He's chilling.
I'd like to congratulate President Putin for being the only person that caught a fish today.
So you know Vladimir Putin. You think he's a killer? I do.
I like Putin. He likes me. You know, we get along.
I looked the man in the eye. I found him to be very straightforward and trustworthy. We had a very good dialogue. I was able to get a sense of his soul. A lot of people never really dreamt that an American president and a Russian president could have established the friendship that we had. We were enemies for a long period of time. When I was in high school, Russia was an enemy. Now the high school students can know Russia is a friend.
I don't have a bad personal relationship with Putin. When we have conversations, they're candid, they're blunt. I know the press likes to focus on body language, and he's got that kind of slouch, looking like the bored kid in the back of the classroom. But the truth is that when we're in conversations together, oftentimes it's very productive.
I respect Putin. He's a strong leader, I can tell you that, unlike what we have.
President Putin called me up very nicely to congratulate me on the win of the election.
Putin's a killer. A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why you think our country's so innocent? I like Putin. He likes me. You know, we get along. It's isn't it? Wouldn't you say it's smart to get along? Okay, smart.
So what specifically will you do differently to change Vladimir Putin's behavior?
Well, first of all, there's no guarantee you can change a person's behavior or the behavior of his country. Autocrats have enormous power. They don't have to answer to a public.
Why do you think he hasn't changed his behavior in spite of everything the U.S. has done to this point?
He's Vladimir Putin.
Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences.
On December 9th of 2023, a hospital surgeon is freaking out after seeing something that she couldn't believe. According to her, she was inside the operating room filming a video for her surgical students when she had to stop and leave immediately. As she states, something was watching her. Now, this video comes from a social account that doesn't post anything like this. All the videos on this page are purely educational and meant for students who want to become surgical technicians. But this video, however, was posted for anyone who could help explain this. Tiffany has no idea what was captured, but hopes that someone does. This is her footage. Watch.
At chromic catgut, the difference is, I'm so sorry, my brain. Okay, here we go, back. Okay. So here we have two different kinds of sutures, polypropylene monofilament and chromic catgut. The difference between these two is that this one is dissolvable and it's animal derived, and the sutures last anywhere from 60 to 90 days. Literally tearing up right now. I saw it. I saw it.
You saw it?
Yeah, I saw it. Can you please just show yourself? Just give me a sign. Do whatever you want.
So if the Earth rotates around the sun once a year, and in that one rotation there are 365 little rotations, representing 1 day per little rotation, equating to 365 with one large rotation, and 365 divided by 28 is 13. So you mean to tell me that we could equally split a year into 13 equal months, every month having 28 days? The beginning of the month starts on a Monday, the end of the month ends on a Sunday. And hold the phone, because you're telling me that September, sept meaning 7,
October, Oct meaning 8, but it's the 10th month. November, Nov meaning 9, but it's the 11th month. And December, but it's the 12th month. And decagon is 10. But hold on, what if the end of the year wasn't in December? What if January was the 11th month? Because December would be the 10th, November would be the 9th, October would be the 8th, September would be the 7th. So January is the 11th, February is the 12th, and March is the 13th, the last month of the year. And the beginning of the year is the spring equinox, when everything begins to start growing and renewing, and life begins to flourish. Wouldn't it make sense that that would be the beginning of the year and not December? I don't know. What do y'all think?
April being the start of the year makes way more sense than January being the start of the year, because April, everything is, like he said, the spring equinox. Everything is new. Like, I don't know. There's also a theory going around on TikTok called the April theory, where it's like everything in your life makes a dramatic shift when April starts. Like, so in my opinion, I kind of believe that April is the start of the new year compared to January. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments.
Just remember, your pet sees a lot more than you do. Watch this. There's nothing there, right? Look at the dog's reaction, y'all. That's not normal dog behavior. That dog knows something's there. That dog is making eye contact with something. Check it out. Something is in that room with them. Somebody explain this in the comments. That dog is scared, y'all. Just remember, animals' hearing and seeing is a lot more versatile and has more range than what we have. If you've ever seen your pet acting like this, something is definitely around that you cannot see, but your dog can. Or cat. Let me know in the comments if you have any weird stories just like this. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time, stay weird.
Something is going on. Like, I don't know, but I think that we shifted into another dimension. Now, listen to this. So, I was looking at a world map today, and I'm like, wait a second. Like, all these countries are completely in a different place. Like, look at where South America is. South America has always been under North America, and now it's in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Look at New Zealand. Look at some of these other islands and where they are. You can't tell me that this map wasn't different 5 years ago. Okay, so I started going down the rabbit hole, and I looked at Home Depot, right? I go there all the time. I was there a couple weeks ago, except it's not called Home Depot. It's called the Home Depot. Yeah, there's a the in front of the Home Depot. King Tut, right? We all learned about him in school, and we seen that famous mask, right? That's solid gold that he wears. What's on the top of it? A giant cobra. Nope, there isn't one. Okay, there is a cobra, but it's to the right, and there's also another vulture on the other side. It's completely different. Think about Scary Movie 2. My favorite line to say is, "Take my strong hand." Except he never says that. Now he says, "Take my hand." If you don't believe me, look it up for yourself. Like, something is going on. We've shifted into another dimension.
I don't want to be that guy, but I definitely wouldn't say we shifted dimensions. I would definitely say, if anything, we switched universes. Because if we switch from this dimension to another dimension, we'd be switched to the fourth dimension or the second dimension. And we're currently in the third dimension. So we're definitely not in a different dimension. And second thing, I worked at Home Depot for like 2 years. And I can guarantee y'all right now that it is in fact the Home Depot. And it never was just Home Depot. People just like to shorten things. You know how it is sometimes. Like, you don't want to just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to the Home Depot today." You just be like, "I'm going to Home Depot."
Anything I say, you're just gonna like get mad at, and you're just gonna hang up on me. So I feel like
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
what? What does that even mean?
Nothing, Gabby. You want to be a dick to me now, so.
I don't want to be, don't manipulate me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm going to choke the out of you when I see you. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
Yo, they call that man lacking crazy. Yo, I'm telling you right now, that girl that he was talking on the phone with, she's an OnlyFans model. She does OnlyFriends things. Like, bro, she definitely did that on purpose. Like, she know what she was doing, bro.
Scientists just turned light into a solid, and it flows like a liquid. For the first time ever, researchers in Italy have created a quantum supersolid using only light, a bizarre state of matter that defies physics as we know it. Over a decade ago, they showed light could act like a fluid, but now they've taken it further. Solid light that flows. Are we unlocking new dimensions of reality?
E risorgere con lui. Aspergiamo il corpo del nostro Papa Francesco.
Your tattoos might look badass, but your body treats the ink like an unwanted intruder, sending immune cells to fight a never-ending war. That's why they fade over time. Some inks contain toxic metals like lead and arsenic. Recent studies suggest that ink can increase cancer from 33 to 62%. Send this to someone who loves tattoos.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? What do you think I'm doing all this shit for? Just a cigarette, I don't wanna be that bad. Honey, don't you love me? And you know it makes me sad. It's just a cigarette, like you always used to do. I was different then, I don't need them to be cool.
Help me do kill my pals.
Okay, we're doing the CE5 contact tones, crop circle tones, and we got a light in the bushes. We're back. Sick show is so back. Look at it peeking. You seeing it through the bushes? Yeah. And over there. Just staying in the bushes, you got him there? Hey, we're zooming on that playboy?
It's so creepy.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Dude, this is what I'm telling you. Come on.
Can this dude hold his camera still, bro? It's just irritating me.
A couple woke up one morning and wanted to share a sweet kiss, but just as they were about to kiss, the man suddenly pulled away and said, "Your breath stinks. Go brush your teeth first." Feeling humiliated, the girlfriend stormed off to the bathroom to brush her teeth. But over the next few days, the problem didn't go away. Her breath still smelled terrible, so bad it could be noticed from a distance, and brushing her teeth didn't help at all. Eventually, the man couldn't take it anymore and decided to take her to the hospital, and that's when they got the real shock. After a full examination, the doctors discovered that the girlfriend was suffering from intestinal obstruction, which had caused severe constipation for days. She thought it was just a minor issue and didn't take it seriously. But over time, the backed up waste had built up so much. A man went to handle the paperwork for his grandfather's death certificate. The staff member said, "Please provide the ID of the deceased." The man silently handed over the documents. After checking them, the staff sighed and said, "What a pity." Those words hit the man hard. He couldn't hold back his emotions and began to cry. Seeing this, the staff gently comforted him. "My condolences. Life, illness, and death. It's all part of being human." The man nodded, holding back his grief as he completed the process. Just as the staff returned the ID card, the man's phone pinged with a new text message. He casually opened it, but after reading it, he froze on the spot.
Jack here. Welcome to another episode of Tales from the Psych Ward, where something happens to me at the Psych Ward and I tell you about it. Today has been a rather disturbing day. I have 3 patients that have lice. They all came in with it. Nobody contracted it from one another. But luckily one of them is a guy, and he was cool with me shaving his head, you know, just buzz cutting it, because that is a surefire way to get lice, you know, just take away their home, burn it to the ground. Anyways, I did it, you know, got done shaving his head, and he was like, "Thank you so much." And I was like, "No problem." You know, had all this garb on, and I turned around, and before I knew it, he was picking up the hair that had lice and all the eggs in it and throwing it at me, singing, "It's raining eggs. Hallelujah, it's raining eggs. Amen," while I screamed in terror. As you guys know, I have very luscious locks and I cannot risk them getting lice. So I am just keeping this on the rest of the day until I can find a shower. I'm so scared.
A nuclear war expert has revealed the safest place in the world to live if World War III were to break out. In a nuclear war, 60% of the world's population could be wiped out in just 72 minutes of a nuclear weapon attack. But there could be some safe places to go. According to the expert Annie Jacobson, New Zealand and Australia are the 2 countries worldwide that could survive nuclear war, as they can sustain agriculture. Annie says that most of the world, certainly the mid-latitudes, would be covered in sheets of ice. Places like Iowa and Ukraine will be just snow for 10 years. Agriculture would fail, and when agriculture fails, people just die. She went on to say that after the nuclear winter problems, you also have radiation poisoning, because the ozone layer will be so damaged and destroyed that you couldn't be outside in the sunlight. People will be forced to live underground, fighting for food everywhere except New Zealand and Australia.
This might be the last generation to ever experience school the way you remember it, because countries around the world are now experiencing the biggest shift in education in 100 years. China just announced that starting in September, AI education will be mandatory for students as young as 6 years old. And this isn't just a coding class, it is a national strategy to prepare students for a future dominated by AI. Meanwhile, in the United States, you have the Secretary of Education saying this.
I heard that
there's a school system that's going to start making sure that first graders or even pre-Ks have A1 teaching, every year starting, that far down in the grades. Okay, let's see A1 and how can that be helpful?
Now, to be fair to the US, AI in classrooms is even happening in the US as well. Several states have recently passed bills mandating AI in course curriculums. South Korea will become the first nation in the world to introduce AI textbooks nationwide. These digital books will collect real-time data on students' performances, giving them continuous feedback as they learn. They can also adapt the pace and difficulty of the material to each student's personal needs. And for teachers, they get sent all of this data, allowing them to see each student's performance like never before. Over in the UK, a recent survey showed that 60% of teachers already use AI for things like marking work. And then over in Canada, another survey showed that over 80% of students are claiming AI-produced content as their own original work. So we really got AI-generated schoolwork then being marked by more AI. And similar things with AI are happening in classrooms in parts of Europe, India, Africa, and the Middle East. But is this a problem? Well, on the one hand, you have critics who worry that kids are no longer learning or retaining knowledge, while supporters say AI isn't going away. And if we don't teach kids how to use it now, we risk leaving an entire generation unprepared for a world they're inheriting. It's kind of like when our teachers told us we needed to memorize our times tables because we wouldn't always have a calculator in our pocket. Yeah. So the question is this the big change that the education system has been needing for decades? Or is it just the beginning of something we'll regret?
I don't think we're gonna regret it. I think that is a smart decision, and thank God I'm not in school anymore, because you know how hard it's gonna be to cheat now? You're not gonna be able to use ChatGPT because ChatGPT is gonna know that you use ChatGPT. But I think it's all for a better purpose though. So like let them teach the kids AI, because they're gonna definitely need to know how it works. That's crazy. I'm thinking about it like my generation are gonna be like my parents' generations, where they don't understand like the phones and the computers. My generation, like, bro, we do not understand AI. And the kids are like, are you stupid? Like, you literally just I'm just like, dude, I never got taught in school how to use AI game.
Called the firmament. Think about this. Why did almost every ancient civilization describe a flat earth under a dome? Look at the Bible. Genesis says, God made the firmament and divided the waters above from the waters below. If you zoom in on stars with a powerful camera, they don't look like distant balls of fire. They shimmer like they're underwater.
That does make sense though, because if you look at stars sometimes, they're not like just straight on. They do kind of shimmer a little bit, but at the same time, it could be because of the distance, but it does give off like a water reflective vibe to it.
Craziest things found under the ice on Earth. In Alaska, 2005, scientists find an ancient bacteria that had been completely frozen in the ice for roughly 32,000 years. To make matters even creepier, this bacteria came back to life after being thawed, with astrobiologist Richard Hoover claiming they immediately started swimming when the ice melted. In the Italian Alps, 1991, scientists uncover Otzi the Iceman. This mummy is a naturally mummified corpse of a man who died around 3300 BC. He also had an arrow sticking out of his back. In Antarctica, 2016, mysterious pyramid-shaped mountains were discovered, which led to many theorists believing that there used to be a thriving civilization in Antarctica before eventually getting wiped out. In Antarctica, in 2016 and 2017, many giant mysterious holes were found in the ice. These holes were found in the Weddell Sea, and one covered an area of 31,000 square miles, making it roughly the size of Maine. In Argentina, 1999, the sacrificed Inca mummy girl and children were found, one being a teenage girl, and the two children are believed to be 6 or 7 years old, and it is thought they were sacrificed for the Inca gods.
Don't miss. Sit down. A submission, please.
Sit down.
Let's go up. Sit down, everybody.
Yeah, they did stand up and stuff.
Okay, the next.
You know how scary that must be? Because that gorilla could honestly shred them. Like every single person in that vicinity, that one gorilla could just immediately just disarm them very badly and intensely and graphically. I wonder if that's just a natural thing for gorillas to just know someone's submitting when they sit down so they don't like really push forward. But what if he just doesn't care?
In 2018, a 29-year-old baggage handler named Richard Russell walked onto the tarmac at Seattle-Tacoma Airport and took off in a Horizon Air Q400 turboprop. No flight training, no co-pilot, just curiosity, confidence, and a bunch of YouTube tutorials. For over an hour, he flew loops and dives over Puget Sound, dodging skyscrapers and pulling off a barrel roll, something the plane wasn't even designed to do. At one point, he flew south toward Mount Rainier, admiring the view, then veered over Tacoma, circled Anderson Island, and buzzed low past McChord Air Force Base. F-15s were scrambled, commercial flights were rerouted, airspace was locked down, and yet Richard stayed calm. He talked to air traffic control like he was just on a joyride. He laughed, asked for help doing a flip, and at one point said, "I played some video games, I know what I'm doing a little bit." Minutes later, the plane crashed on Ketron Island, a small and mostly uninhabited island near Tacoma. Richard died on impact. No one else was hurt.
Dude, why I thought he survived it? I thought he was just like, he's gonna land, it's all good. Bro, crashed. They do say takeoff and landing is the hardest part of flying, not when you're just in the air cruising. Like, that's apparently the easiest part. That's the part that you're actually least likely to die. They said that, like, when you take off, the chances are high, and when you land, the chances are also high, which makes sense.
Can you please explain to me in detail the event that occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base?
Certainly. I've been waiting for this for seems like my whole life, and I literally fell out of my chair.
They observed a very large red square, estimated to be almost the size of a football field, approach the base from the ocean and hover at low altitude over one of the launch facilities.
Radio transmissions start to pour in.
As it became closer and closer to our position, it stopped and hovered right over the coastline. There's no propulsion systems, no lights, no audible sounds, and it just hovered there.
And then just all hell broke loose.
There was a lot of chaos.
These are people I'd spent years with, and they're not people that are easily frightened or intimidated. And they were terrified, and they were screaming for help over the net.
This object remained for about 45 seconds or so before darting off over the mountains.
It just shot away up the coastline. It seemed like 1,000,000 miles an hour, like it was shot out of a cannon, and then it was gone. I mean, personally, I can't explain it. I've never seen anything like it in my life. The way it hovered, to make no sound, to have no propulsion system.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they had that at the UFO hearing a couple months back. I'm gonna see if I can put the clip in right now.
My next question would actually be for Mr. Graves. Can you please explain to me in detail the event that occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base?
Certainly. In the 2003 timeframe, a large group of Boeing contractors were operating near one of the launch facilities at Vandenberg Air Force Base when they observed a very large 100-yard sided red square approach the base from the ocean and hover at low altitude over one of the launch facilities. This object remained for about 45 seconds or so before darting off over the mountains. There was a similar event within 24 hours later in the evening. This was a morning event, I believe 8:45 in the morning. Later in the evening, post-sunset, there were reports of other sightings on base, including some aggressive behaviors. These objects were approaching some of the security guards at rapid speeds before darting off. And this is information that was received through one of the witnesses that have approached me at Americans for Safe Aerospace.
Was this documented in any official form, whether it was a police blotter?
Yes, they had official documentation and records from the event that the witness held over the years.
And I'm not going to ask you to do it right now for time reasons, but you'd be able to sketch what was witnessed, correct? And have you seen that before on any other equipment and or during your flight time?
I have not seen what they've described. This object was estimated to be almost the size of a football field, and I have not seen anything personally that large.
Okay, and then another question on follow-up referencing the gimbal video Go Fast incident.
That's crazy, dude, how they just come from the ocean and we kind of just have no power against them.
45-second fun fact.
If we could create a video game that had conscious beings inside of it, then those beings would begin to explore that universe that we created, and eventually using mathematics could discover the origin of their universe, and that origin would be an infinitesimally small thing from which their entire universe came, which was entirely coded with the instructions and materials in advance for their entire universe, but which seemingly came from a massless nothing that just turned on out of nowhere, but eventually became everything they know to exist. And it would be very much like how we look back at the Big Bang, that all came from a subatomic particle with all the information coded and all the materials needed for this universe.
We might be in a simulation.
The dog waited loyally for his owner to step off the train, and he did this every day for years. But one day, the man didn't return. You see, he had passed away at work, but there was no way for his dog to know. And for almost 10 years, he stayed at the station, waiting for his best friend to come home. Other passengers would feed him, and his story spread across Japan. But finally, he took his last breath, still waiting at the same spot. Later, a bronze statue was constructed in his honor, but it was melted down for ammunition in World War II.
Students fled from Wilmer Hutchins High School Tuesday after a suspect opened fire at the Dallas school, shooting 3 males and injuring another. School officials say the suspect is in custody. Sources tell CBS News Texas he turned himself in to the Dallas County Jail and is a student at the school. He will be charged with multiple counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
He called me and said, "Mama, I got bullets flying around my head."
Shauna Williams has 2 sons at the school.
I'm thinking about taking them out and putting them in homeschool. I can't keep going through this as a parent. I'm telling you, it's very frightening to ever think about losing your child.
For many, Tuesday's incident was deja vu.
It was very traumatic.
Last year, a student was injured in a Wilmer Hutchins classroom after being shot by a fellow student. The school district said it strengthened its security measures after that shooting. According to its website, the district installed about 400 metal detectors in secondary schools during the past 2 years. All students are also required to wear clear backpacks.
The gun did not come through during regular intake time, so it was not a failure of our protocols or of the machinery that we have.
Despite enhanced measures, some students say they aren't surprised a shooting happened again.
So it's kind of normal to us with the security issues.
Now, that student you just heard from says she heard 7 gunshots. Dallas Fire Rescue says their injuries range from serious to non-life-threatening, and the victims' ages are from 15 to 18. One of the victims' ages is not known.
So what happens when one of the world's top neuroscientists takes the strongest psychedelic known to humanity? And after decades of studying how consciousness comes from only the brain, this is how one 10-minute psychedelic trip changed everything. World-renowned scientist Dr. Christoph Koch is known for developing models of consciousness and how that integrates with reality. And so, when he inhaled 5-MeO-DMT, the strongest known psychedelic on the planet, his entire worldview on consciousness shattered. He says during the trip that there was no concept of space, time, memory, or even himself, and that there was just unbearable light full of terror and ecstasy, where he says he became the universe. And this connects back to his concept called the integrated information theory, basically saying how consciousness does not only come from the brain, but comes from how connected we are. So the example is, imagine if you're in a group chat where everyone is talking, it's very chaotic, and no one is listening. So that's what we call low connection. Versus high connection, which is when everyone is deeply listening and responding to each other. So the more your brain is connected to a system, the more conscious it is. So in the integrated information theory, if 2 systems, you and the universe, become more connected, you just don't stay separate. You merge and become one consciousness. Key takeaway here is Dr. Christoph says that consciousness is reality experiencing itself.
Because not only is it different than what you thought, it happens so quickly. You know what my The impression I had that I never expected to have is you're shooting up.
Oh my God.
Give me a champagne bottle.
Come here. I
want one.
I
want to hear this. Here. You want a little of this? Hey.
The champagne showers have begun.
The Trump administration's science director has come out saying that American tech can, quote, manipulate time and space. That's not an accident. You don't say that as a turn of phrase. That is not a way you describe calling someone on the phone. Something doesn't quite add up as to why he's saying this. And recently, Donald Trump issued a veiled threat to China saying, she's a smart guy, we'll negotiate. Because otherwise we have weapons and no one knows. Don't believe me? Let's play these clips. My friends, I think we have more than enough ancillary evidence to suggest the U.S. has technology that is undisclosed and may meet disclosure. And it lines up with a lot of theories online researchers have, and the media calls them conspiracy theorists. But listen to this from Donald Trump first.
And we're very powerful. This country is very powerful. Let me tell you, it's far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world that we have. More powerful than anybody, even not even close. So nobody's going to do that, but I think that if that's what you're referring to, maybe it's not.
Not even close. And then you have this video. Take a listen to what the Trump administration science director has to say about our technology.
Our passenger planes are slower than they used to be. Our trains crawl compared to those in other parts of the world. Our cars do not fly. Advances have not stopped, but something has gone wrong. Stagnation was a choice. We have weighed down our builders and innovators. The well-intentioned regulatory regime of the 1970s became an ever-tightening ratchet, first hampering America's ability to become a net energy exporter and then making it harder and harder to build. We seem to have lost focus and vision, to have lowered our sights and let systems and structures and bureaucracies muddle us along. But we are capable of so much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow and improve productivity.
What did he mean by that, and why did he say it? My friends have said, Tim, he's simply referring to vehicles. We can leave distance annihilated. He's talking about driving a car, flying a plane, rocket ships. No, I don't think so. Annihilating distance does not mean moving very quickly. And I don't know anybody who's ever expressed themselves in that way.
Ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. Have y'all seen the video of that guy who said that his side hustle is a grave digger and that him and his coworker went to, do their job. And while they were lifting up the casket, he noticed that it was extremely light. And he asked his coworker, like, yo, why is this so light? And the guy was like, don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. So then right after that, I saw this lady who used to work for the cemetery. And she pretty much said, like, there's no way all these people that have passed on, there's not enough room for them. There's definitely not enough room for them. And she was like, if you really want to know where they go, check your restaurant, check your grocery stores, She's like, I lied to you not. This is what's going down.
17-year-old responsible for shooting up a Dallas high school yesterday just released this video of him on his way to turn himself in.
I love all my peoples, man. Nigga told me he was gonna kill me. All these niggas told me they was gonna kill me. Look what happened. I love my Sandra. I love the nigga behind this camera. I love Yana. I love my nieces and nephews. All of them. I want everybody to know I love them. People named that I didn't name, trust me, I love you. I can't think right now, but I love y'all. This is my last time fuck around be seeing y'all. Last time I'm talking to y'all, excuse my language, but I love y'all.
He goes on to say in the video that he knows that he was wrong for what he did, but apparently those people at the high school said they were going to end his life, so he had to jump them before they had the chance to. Now, people started to jump all over the school claiming that it was their fault for what happened, but it turns out somebody let him in a side door and he was able to get into the campus and into that hallway to do that act. Now, there's also a rumor that this whole thing started because of a dice game that these students were arguing about, but that is still not confirmed yet.
Wendy's has refused to apologize to Katy Perry. So when Katy Perry went on her little space mission to hold flowers in space and stare into the camera, I guess, Wendy's made a tweet basically just saying we should leave Katy Perry in space. You know, they're probably thinking of that tweet longer than Katy Perry was actually in space. Anyways, this tweet caused a lot of controversy, especially since Kesha jumped in agreeing with Wendy's without like straight up agreeing with Wendy's. And because of all the controversy, people started calling on Wendy's to apologize to Katy Perry. Basically, they're saying Wendy's has no reason to beef with Katy Perry. Now, Wendy's actually did end up responding to this whole situation, but they refused to actually apologize. Let me tell y'all their statement. They said they have, quote,
a ton of respect for Katy Perry and her out-of-this-world talent.
I see what you did there, Wendy's. But that was it. They never actually said sorry to Katy. And now there's like a lot of Katy Perry stands basically saying they're going to boycott Wendy's. I mean, I'm sure Wendy's going to miss the 2 Katy Perry fans in 2025. I don't know. She might have a new fan base in space now. But if that's the case, I doubt they'd be going to Wendy's, you know, regardless. But what do you guys think?
It blows my mind that more people don't realize that today was one of the most groundbreaking days for space in history. Scientists have just said that they are 99.7% sure that there is life on this planet that's only 124 light years away. What's even crazier is how they figured this out. Scientists were able to use the James Webb Space Telescope to analyze the light coming off of K2-18b's atmosphere, and it was missing one important part of the light. This unique part of the light that's missing indicates to scientists with 99.7% confidence that there is a gas on the planet called DMS that on Earth only exists as a result of life and is produced in massive amounts by phytoplankton in the ocean. And then it is basically an ocean planet, which makes me wonder what other life is lurking in the oceans of K2-18b.
Scientists have found a perfectly preserved dinosaur embryo inside of a fossilized egg. Wow.
This is breaking right now. We are just learning within the hour the United States military shot down another what's called high altitude object off the coast of Alaska. This one, according to military commanders, was threatening U.S. air traffic because of the altitude it was flying at, apparently around 40,000 feet. The president gave the order to shoot it down. It came down in the waters over Alaska, which right now are frozen. The White House officials are confirming that it is the size of about a small car, so it is seriously smaller than the huge balloon that was shot down off the East Coast last weekend. At this point, the White House is also not confirming who owns this high altitude object. More information is coming.
Interesting. The following film shows the human energy field radiating outward from the body. It dynamically changes based on the physical conditions, the feeling states, the motivations of the person, in interaction with energy radiation from objects and living things. The existence of the human energy field, or the aura, was validated and studied by over 12 years of high-frequency recordings. This film shows the field not ordinarily seen, but now visible. Like all living things, this little dog has a sizable radiant field, even when he sits quietly. Notice now, as he greets his master, the obvious love and affection between them increases the dynamic radiation from their bodies, even the dog's tail and the man's head. No wonder so many people have pets who give them pleasure and provide a vital field of energy to interact with. Wherever there is motion in the universe, there is increased flow in the field that humans interact with. See the explosive activity from the waves and from his body. Also, the electromagnetic field of the body is negatively charged or ionized, as our waves are tumbling water, which further expands and heightens his field, giving a physical exuberance and emotional excitement. No wonder that a day at the beach is so exhilarating and vitalizing. We all love a babbling brook and the freshness of outdoor vegetation and mountains. Most of us believe that it is relaxation and beauty which refreshes us. From our research, we have discovered that living plants and rarefied atmosphere provide a richer field of negative ions, which heightens and replenishes our own energy field. Notice that the man's field becomes light in color and high in frequency. It sparkles and radiates some distance from his body. See that as the child moves into the mother's field, the affection between them changes the overall field to a pink color. Individuals' fields blend and enhance when there is a warm, caring relationship. These energy fields are the largest and the whitest that we have shown. She is oming. On the breath inhalation, the radiant field diminishes, and on exhalation, it expands and envelops the child. We have known for a long time that Gregorian chants, oming, humming, singing, and whistling create an energy which perks up emotions and brings an expanded consciousness.
Crazy. If you guys never knew, now you knew. Wow. That proves that there's a lot of things seen and unseen. Sometimes you could pick up on people and you really be like, you know, I kind of just don't vibe with that dude just because you guys' auras are just clashing, you know? And there's some people that you vibe with and you guys are just, yay!
Holy shit. You guys have seen this video of Chris Watts, right? Most of us in the true crime community are already familiar with it, and everyone always points out the fact that the TV behind Chris is playing a commercial depicting an unborn baby inside of the womb. Chris then looks over at the cop and mentions that his missing wife, who we all know he unalived, is also pregnant, and says that she's about 14 or 15 weeks along. Almost like him watching that little clip sparked that reminder in his dumb head. But did anyone else catch what shows up after that? It's an oil spill. It literally looks like oil with a skull in it. That commercial is actually from American Horror Stories Apocalypse, and this to me just solidifies my belief in the afterlife so hard. Because you can't tell me that Shanann isn't in this room right now with this man who took her life, her precious daughter's lives, and her unborn baby's life. She just has to be conjuring this all up as her sleazeball of a husband is being questioned by police about the whereabouts of his entire family. She is literally screaming through the TV, "We're in here, come find my babies."
This new footage from a camera trap is something I want to talk about. There are some interesting implications for evolution with this video. It comes from an island just over 8 miles off the coast of Australia, Kangaroo Island. This island is full of native wildlife. It's an area that's it's been kept pretty natural. And this is actually Victoria. Victoria is a dachshund that was brought to the island by her owners last November, so almost a year and a half ago. She got loose from her crate and escaped, and eventually, as a pet owner, I have to imagine you kind of give up hope that that animal is still alive. Over the last month, sightings started to pick up, and it turns out this dachshund is still alive and has likely been persisting thanks to food like roadkill and then whatever she can manage to get. If you think about dachshunds, they were originally bred as hunting dogs. That body shape allows them to get burrowing animals more efficiently. And that's one of the things I find really interesting about this, is that humans, we domesticated dogs well over 20,000 years ago from ancestral gray wolf populations. And over time, we used evolution to guide them into these different things that provided different jobs for us. They did different roles. And now a lot of those dogs, like a dachshund for example, they live alongside people and they don't necessarily do the things that we had caused them to evolve to do. So it's kind of interesting to see that this dachshund, the dachshund's owners, they admit that this is a dog that was pampered. This was a dog that was always by their side. This was not a dog that you would think was going to survive for over 500 days in the wilderness. But when given the chance, surprising things have happened. It's an interesting throwback with Australia with dingoes, as we now know that dingoes descended from the dog lineage, so their ancestors at some point, the evidence suggests, were domesticated. They ended up either being brought to Australia by people or somehow kind of making it along with the people, and then some returned to the wild. Over thousands of years, it led to the lineage today that we call dingo.
My grandma used to always say, if you don't like somebody, don't talk about them. If someone's doing something bad to you, don't talk about them. Don't give any energy towards them, because the more energy you give someone, the better off they will be. They will do well in life, things will go well for them, and you'll be like, oh, they did me wrong, and yet look how well they're doing. I didn't really believe it at the time, I didn't really think too much about it, but recently I watched this video where this guy was talking about energy pendulums, how everything, every person, every politician, everything, any subject you want to think about is an energy pendulum, and the more energy people give it, whether they're talking bad about it, good about it, but they're giving their energy, they're feeding this pendulum their energy, and the way it works is the pendulum with the most energy wins. And people forget that their energy, their attention to things is very, very powerful. Now, whether I like someone or not, I don't really want anyone to do badly in life, but if you're being horrible to me, I don't want to waste my energy on building you up. And I know it's hard, it's annoying, because when people do you wrong, you want to talk about it, you want to talk about them, you want to vent all this frustration out, and you know what, do what you got to do to make yourself feel better. But just remember, the more energy and attention you give something, the bigger and bigger it gets, the more it wins, the more it prospers. And if you think about it, that's kind of how everything works. The more attention and energy you give to something, the more it increases, whether you want it or not. You tend to see more of it, you tend to experience more of it, because you've given it your energy. It just grows and grows. So when I heard this in the video, it reminded me of what my grandma used to say. If you don't like them, don't talk about them. They don't exist. You are above that. Your energy is so powerful. Don't give it to them. If you don't like what they're doing, you don't like what they are, don't contribute to them winning whilst being this awful person. Don't do it.
Remain seated, remain seated, remain seated.
We're in the middle of an emergency landing.
Lean forward and brace your head against the back seat in front of you. Demonstrate your brace position now. Flight attendants will be passing through your cabin to ensure everything is done correctly.
Love you, bro.
I'm kind of interested in that, because why was the plane about to crash? Like, it seemed like they landed. Was it like an engine problem or like a wheel problem? That's crazy, dude. And in my head, I was like, bro, why are they yelling, stay down, heads down, stay down? Like, that chant is so like scary. Like, what the hell? Like, imagine you're in a plane crash and they're telling you to brace forward, and then like you're just hearing heads down, stay. Like, also, I heard something that the brace position doesn't necessarily save your life. It actually kills you quicker. So when the plane hits, you just like freaking fold. You know what I'm saying? Like, they tell you to brace forward and it just breaks your neck when it hits. Do you guys believe in that? Let me know if you guys believe in that, because if that's true, that's crazy. Like, they tell you to brace so you don't, because if you survive the crash, you could sue them for a lot of money. So they kind of want you to die. So then they come up with the brace position. I don't know. Maybe it does help. But like, I've heard that it just kills you quicker. I'm not sure. Like, if you guys know, please let me know, because that's interesting if that's true.
Year-old accused of fatally stabbing another student at a Texas track meet has walked free from jail. Carmelo Anthony posted a reduced $250,000 bond after it was lowered from $1 million. As he left jail, Anthony stayed silent and stone-faced, ignoring reporters' questions about 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, who died in his twin brother's arms after being stabbed in the heart. The incident allegedly started after a brief dispute over seating under a team tent. Anthony's family says more than $415,000 in donations are being used for legal fees and safety after receiving racist threats. Prosecutors questioned why the funds weren't used for bond. Anthony, who had no prior arrests and was captain of both the football and track teams, now faces a first-degree murder charge and must wear an ankle monitor while under house arrest.
Dude, what is going on? We literally just heard about the kid that literally shot up the Texas high school. And then now this dude, like, what is going on? I'm pretty sure that's also in Texas. That's crazy. And why does he have a knife at a track meet? When I used to do track, I didn't think no one needed to bring no knives.
Russia has sent a terrifying World War III threat to the UK, warning that they will kill all British people. Russian TV propagandist Vladimir Solovyov issued a direct threat to nuclear war and has declared the UK and US are directly waging war against us. He said that Russia sees right through a coalition of peacemakers and that world leaders would feel their consequences the same as the soldiers on the front line. He went on to say, it's not that they may perish, they will certainly perish. We will kill them all. A spokesperson for the UN Secretary General said that attacks against civilians and civilian objects are prohibited under international humanitarian law and that any such attacks, wherever they occur, must end immediately.
Michael Jackson spotted in the backyard of a luxurious Palm Beach mansion. 12 years after his death, footage of a shadowy figure moving through the estate has sparked a wave of speculation and disbelief. The posture, the movements, even the way he turns his head, it all eerily resembles the King of Pop. But what makes this story truly unsettling is the house itself. For years, the media reported the property as abandoned, rumored to be on the market twice. But the truth is something else entirely. The mansion is still legally owned by his daughter, Paris Jackson, and it has never officially been listed for sale. Since the day of Michael's alleged death, she's refused to set foot inside, but she's also refused to let it go. In rare interviews, she simply said, "Some things are meant to be left where they are." Neighbors, however, have a different story. For years, they've reported strange noises, lights turning on and off with no one inside, and most chilling of all, faint music drifting from the walls, familiar songs only one man could have created. Some claimed they saw a figure in the upstairs window, but no one took them seriously.
I feel like people don't understand that a lot of these houses can also get broken into. So a lot of these times they might hear things or see things. It could be people breaking in, because I know a lot of celebrities' houses, if they don't have any security, can also get broken into, which is a little bit crazy, but you know, and that's the name of the game.
Oh Lord, the reason that this Kenyan man hitched a ride on a helicopter at a wedding is actually wild. So recently, a famous musician was getting married. So he had a big traditional wedding with music, food, dancing, and of course, a lot of celebrity guests. One of which was a massive YouTuber who turned up in a freaking helicopter to shorten the 7-hour drive from Nairobi. But when it came time to leave, one of the guests, who I'm not even sure was invited, approached the passengers knowing that they were wealthy and asked for money. When they refused, he asked them to at least give him a ride to Nairobi. When they refused again, he actually had to be removed by security. But that did not stop the bicycle repairman and father of two, because somehow he returned, and bro said, "I am not taking no for an answer." When the pilot eventually noticed, he quickly made an emergency landing, dropping him off unharmed in a nearby field. Shocked that he actually survived, locals ran to him and lifted him up in the air in celebration. Now, he has since been arrested for putting the passengers' lives in danger, but refused to apologize, saying that it was exhilarating. He said he usually relies on donkeys for transport, so the flight marked a historic moment for him. He even managed to keep his slippers and claimed that he could have lasted the entire 65-minute flight.
Dude, I do not know what that guy's talking about. He definitely could not have lasted that entire 65-minute flight. At max, probably like 3 minutes. Maybe even 5. You know, benefit of the doubt, I'd give him like 6 minutes max that he could last on.
Chickies! Hi, babies! Oh, goodness. Where y'all going? Where are you going? You ready for some grubs? Let's go! It's grub time! What the fool? Why are they all not moving?
What? What is happening right now? Babies? Guys! What is happening right now? Chickies! Guys! Oh my god! What is... Chickens! Oh my god. I am so glad I decided to record this. Chickens! Why are y'all not... What is happening right now? Chickens! Chickens! Chickies! Why are y'all not moving? Hello? Oh? This is... I cannot make this up. This one literally has not stopped moving. Or has not moved at all. The foot is in the same place. Hello? Oh my god. Chickens! Chickens! Did I do something? Nick! What the? Oh my god!
She should have tried poking it, honestly. Should have went up to one of them and poked him, or just picked him up and see what would have happened. That would have been hilarious if they just didn't move. Once she just grabbed him and was like, and then they're just still frozen. That would have been crazy.
These are real life glitches caught on camera, and they're absolutely insane. Up first, a woman captured what looked like a squirrel coming out of nowhere, but it honestly looks like it just came out of a shadow. Pay attention to it and let me know what you think.
I am witnessing a glitch in the fucking Matrix, and I swear to God, if this squirrel doesn't come back out, I'm gonna have a panic attack, because if you see his nose, I'm not going crazy. Oh my god, wait, stop it. There's nothing there. There's not a grate there. There's not a fucking grate there. Where did this bitch just come from? What the fuck? He just came out of nothing! Don't run to it!
Next up is a video of a couple friends who captured a video of the sky split into night and day. Check this out.
Motherfucking shit right now. I think the sky just broke. What the fuck happened with the sky? It broke. Why is New Mexico this obvious on our weather? You can either have a sunny day, cloudy day. But why is it obvious? What's going on, bro? This is weird.
Finally, this next video might be the weirdest video on the internet. Just check this out.
Is there any weird, unexplainable stuff in my house? But I bought a guitar the other week at a garage sale from this old lady down the street, and every time I pick it up or strum it or play it, really weird shit happens, and I'll show you. I had some Lotus, like very 80s looking guitar, and every time I strum, like that, shit like that happens every time I mess with this thing. Like that.
The record? I haven't told him anything. Okay, just tell me what you see.
Oh my god, come on. Wow. Holy shit. I just saw something. Yeah. What the?
Oh, I see that. I feel it.
I've been under the influence of mind-altering substances a lot, but I've never seen anything like that. Whoa.
I showed over 100 people, and I kept asking myself, how are all of us seeing the same thing?
Oh my god. It's changing shapes right there.
The laser was revealing numbers and letters running in a pattern.
They're almost like this big here, and it looks like code.
It looked like
that was a thick laser.
That's why I told you.
Something, and I just want to take a picture of it and translate it. Wow.
You see that?
Okay, so yeah, it's not stuck.
No.
It's not because of the light.
No, it's on its own side. Light is just literally revealing it.
And each angle shows you different layers, different ways through it.
I could see through the wall. It's not like a hallucination. It has spatial awareness and permanence. I don't know. Whoa.
For centuries, mankind has attempted to explore these psychedelic, altered states, but we've never had a repeatable, testable phenomenon to observe until now.
Wow. I'm obsessed.
It's like you could see through the laser into another dimension.
I mean, like, take yourself to that. Like, I just made a connection.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. It looks like, I think they could have seen through the wall, because at first I thought they were seeing like codes. Like, you know how when you're playing games or like you're in like a simulation, wherever you can see like little numbers. I thought that's what they were seeing at first, but I think they're seeing through the actual door into a quote unquote another dimension. That's crazy. Do you guys believe in the simulation theory? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments, because I've been looking into that like a lot recently.
So a couple weeks ago, I posted a video about how I put a waffle in the toaster, and then when it popped and was done, it was gone, and I still can't find it. Well, you all commented on that video with some very similar strange things that's happened to you. So here's top 10 glitches in the Matrix from my comment section. I dropped a spray bottle in my bathroom, heard it hit the floor, have not been able to find it in the last 4 months. No clue where it went. I've lost a strand of spaghetti like that before, threw it against a wall to see if it was done, it slid off the wall, there was nowhere for it to go, poof, gone. Mac and cheese and the pot. We searched everywhere. The only proof we made mac and cheese was the box in the trash. The pot with mac and cheese was just gone. My daughter swears she was having a food fight with her brother, tossed a tortilla and it went through the wall and vanished. They searched for days, it was gone. We got back from dinner the other night. I sat my phone on the bed, went to the bathroom, came back, and my phone was gone. We called it 6 times, searched for 2 hours. The next morning, my mill called to tell us she found my phone in the pocket on the back of her passenger seat. I sat behind the driver, and we both remember me putting my phone on the bed. When we walked in, I was on the phone with my sister when we got home. Still can't explain it. I was delivering an oxygen sensor to a shop once. I put it in the passenger seat, and when I got there, I looked over and it was gone. All my coworkers looked everywhere for it, but it has evaporated into nothing apparently. Used to live in an older house, we received a check from my mill and then couldn't find it for days. Then one day, it was just sitting in the middle of the kitchen counter. My husband tore his truck apart looking for a tool. Couldn't find it anywhere. Next time he opened the truck door, it was laying in the seat. We had a toy dinosaur made from Legos. Dropped it at my feet, bent down to pick it up, and gone! My husband, myself, and our 2 kids moved all the furniture in the room, couldn't find it at all. And at number 10, one time my wife bought a pumpkin carving kit. We brought it home, brought it upstairs, and specifically put it in a spot we'd remember so we could easily come back to it and use it like the next day when we got a pumpkin. Well, not long after placing it in the spot, when we came back for it, it was gone. Days went by and we looked everywhere. One day, someone opened a kitchen cabinet and boom, there was a pumpkin carving kit. But it wasn't even the one we bought, and no one has come forward about the one found. No one bought it. So we lost one, but gained one that wasn't as good as the one we bought. What is happening? Oh, I'll tell you what it is. It's either fairies, gnomes, or interdimensional beings, or we're all just going crazy.
It could also be just bad judgment. Like sometimes you place something one area, then forgot you placed it there, and then you look for it and be like, oh, why is it not there? I swore I left it there, and then the whole time it actually wasn't there the whole time. Me personally, that's happened to like a lot. So like I could see a lot of like miscalculations, but some of the times I'd be like, yo, I swear that shit just disappeared.
A very weird glitch in the Matrix thing just happened to my husband and I. We have a Breville espresso machine, and you have to use like fresh coffee beans in the machine, otherwise it doesn't work right. Before we realized this, like months ago, my husband bought this like Black Cat espresso beans, but they're not fresh, they're just like packaged espresso beans. We found out that they didn't work in the machine because he was using them in the machine and it was all watery and it just wasn't good. So I told him to just stop using these in the machine. Fast forward to today, he ran out of his other espresso beans. I didn't have time to go to the store to get fresh ones. So I was like, just use those Black Cat espresso ones that you used to use, and it is what it is. He goes to use the beans, and the bag is not open. And he comes over to me and he says, did you buy a new bag of these? And I was like, no, why would I buy a new bag of those? You don't use them anymore. And he said, well, this bag isn't open. And now me and him are looking at each other like, somebody here is the asshole, and we don't know which one of us that it is. I'm like, okay, well, maybe you accidentally bought another bag. So we're like looking through the cabinets to see if there's an unopened bag, because he only used the other bag like once or twice. It doesn't exist. We keep all of our coffee in one spot. We have like a little coffee area. There's no way for this one bag of beans to be new. It was used. I've watched him use these beans with my eyes. I made him a cup of coffee with those beans myself. So yeah.
Reality glitches caught on camera.
I don't understand. It won't stop.
So my mother was showing me that she opened the banana, that she thinks that these are not real bananas. We got it from the supermarket, but when she opens it and she breaks it in half, it gets very tough and doesn't really break. And when it pulls, it's like it's glue. It's very tight and doughy.
Video surveillance camera filmed an absolutely crazy scene. When this mother was walking down the road with her daughter, something truly improbable is about to happen right behind them. If you look closely, you'll notice there's a cat behind them who's also walking with them. Well, look at this cat carefully, and most importantly, look at what he does. He's walking normally behind the mother and the daughter, and after a while, for whatever reason, look at what he does. He literally backflips. The mom hears something, so she turns around, but unfortunately, it's already too late. If you agree she missed out on something crazy, subscribe.
Dude, was that first one, was that horse walking away from us or towards us? Because I was watching the first one, I was just like, if y'all don't remember the first one, replay the video. Trust me, like, you won't even know which direction that horse was walking. Because if you look at it, it looks like it's going backwards for like 2 seconds, and in 3 seconds, it looks like it's going forward. It's like, what?
Have you ever experienced a glitch in the Matrix? Well, you're about to.
Low-key freaking out right now. I feel like I'm experiencing one of those glitch in the Matrix moments. I'm upstairs in our Airbnb. We have guests coming today, so I've been cleaning it and whatnot. I have most of the rooms done. About an hour ago, I did the bathroom. I cleaned it top to bottom. I swept, as you can see, the broom. I mopped and everything. I just went to walk in here to double check to make sure the floors look good. And this is laying on the bathroom floor. Hold on. And this is from a necklace that my husband got me for Christmas a few years ago. I wear it a lot, but I have not been wearing it for the last couple weeks because I've been wearing my gold necklaces. And like I said, I just cleaned this whole bathroom top to bottom and did the floors not even an hour ago.
The weirdest part of this is that the chain for this necklace was in her jewelry box where it always is.
I always keep my most worn necklaces right here. Literally, I know it. This is the chain. Yes, this is the chain that it usually sits on. I cannot stress enough that I have not worn this necklace in at least a couple weeks. Because like I said, I have been wearing my gold necklaces religiously. I haven't even taken them off to sleep or shower. I am never going to be able to explain this, and it's going to drive me absolutely insane.
I don't know, what do you think? Was it a glitch in the Matrix or just a missing necklace? Stay spooky, friends.
Top 10 glitches in the Matrix from my comment section, part 9. Get ready, because these are really weird. I once went to pick up a book I let my sister borrow. The bookmark she also borrowed fell to the floor when I picked up the book. And when I went to pick it up, it was completely gone. Went home and it was sitting on my coffee table. Driving to work when suddenly a voice shouted, "Put your seatbelt on now!" I did it immediately, and when I did, my right front tire blew into pieces. I was alone in the car, and the belt saved me. Was walking my 8-year-old daughter home from school and crossed the street near the house. Halfway across, it was blurry and confusing for a moment, and then we were on a corner far from home. We looked at each other in silence for a moment, and she said, "Dad, I think we just teleported." We walked and talked about it. We both had clear memories of passing landmarks before the portal shift. One time, I was driving and wandering through back roads with some friends at night. We went down this dirt path, and at the end of the road, there was this legit stereotypical Scooby-Doo type abandoned house, so we get kind of spooked and turned around. When we left, the road looked different, and after like 10 minutes of driving away, we ended up back at the end of the road where the house was. Still can't explain it. When my children were small, I was sitting impatiently at a railroad crossing with no gate, but the lights were flashing. I decided to go across the tracks because I didn't see any train. Suddenly, I felt an invisible arm across my chest and full pressure on my foot on the brake. I sort of zoned out, and in an instant, a very high-speed passenger train flew by. No way I would have made it that night. I brought my earbuds to a scout event. I put them in an extra pair of socks I was bringing so my mom wouldn't see them. I didn't use them and kept them in the sock the whole time. When I came back home, I only had the case, but couldn't find the earbuds anywhere. A few weeks go by, and I see them sitting on my driveway. All right, so I've read a few stories now about lost items being returned on driveways, so I'm guessing we have an interdimensional mailman type being that's just returning glitched out objects. Moving on. My brother lost his combination lock for his locker at home, and we looked everywhere for it for months. One day, he had a dream that he had found it, and the next day, he looked where he had found it in the dream, and lo and behold, the combination lock was in the toy box, right at the top. And we had looked there many times before because we play with those toys often. When I was in high school, I'd sit in the front seat passenger side beside the driver because of bullies. I was doing this for many months, and the bus driver never told me to wear my seatbelt. One day, I get on the bus, and the driver turns to me and says, "Put on your seatbelt." It was strange, but I did it. A whole lot later, a car drove into the side of the bus. That seatbelt kept me from being flung from the vehicle. Why is it so hard to put your seatbelt on? Just wear your seatbelt. You're supposed to. I mean, I get it if it's a bus, because buses don't really have seatbelts. So, if you have one, wear one. One night, I woke up because I heard a loud bang. I turned my light on and my metal water bottle was gone. I sleep with my door and windows locked. I looked everywhere, under my bed, in my drawers, etc. I left my room to check downstairs, and when I came back, my water bottle was on the bedside table. And at number 10. Okay, my glitch in the Matrix was me and my cousin were living together with my mom, and we stayed up one night later talking, and I had a window right above my bed. Out the window is a small field and an abandoned gas station on the other side. The field had a tree in the middle. We looked out the window. Me and her both watched a large plane crash into the field into the tree. No sound, no people, but we both saw it crash and burst into flames. We closed the curtain and then reopened it, and nothing was there. Even when we went outside the next day to that exact spot, we found nothing. All right, timelines must just be mashing together, because how do you explain any of that? We need some explanations. Like now.
We in some weird, strange times these days. This planet is shifting. I don't know where it's shifting to. There's a lot of theories on it, but it's definitely changing every day, bro. The weather's crazy, people crazy. The information they giving us to live off is crazy. Society is crazy. It's in the asteroid, man. What they say?
I don't know. To me, it kind of looked like a camera thing. Like, ever like take a picture and the camera's bright for like a second and kind of reframes? That's what I felt like kind of happened with the sky. I felt like it was more like a lighting situation and like a camera glitch compared to like a real life glitch. Unless the people in the actual video were like, yo, what the? But I don't think they were bugging out. So I think it was a camera glitch personally. Let me know what you guys think about that one.
In the middle of the road, just been sitting there, glitched out. Just glitched out. In the middle of the road. For no reason. He's just sitting there.
So what happened was, I bought 2 water bottles like this. I have a little basket. I put both of the water bottles in. They were ice cold, like right out of the fridge. I opened it up and I started chugging it. Put the cap back on, set it back into my stroller, wiped my mouth because I had hella water dripping off my chin. And I'm here with like my mom and my kids, my husband, and my daughter comes out and she's like, you guys didn't pay for my stuff. So everyone starts freaking out, like, you know, she's having like a whole little fit. I go to take another drink. I reach to grab my water and I notice that it's full still. So I grab the other water and I notice that it's full. So I'm thinking maybe the pressure from like the heat and it being open, maybe it kind of like suctioned back up and looked full. So I start trying to twist the caps open. They're both fucking sealed. To be honest, this whole experience scared the fuck out of me. It was really scary. Like, I could feel myself drinking the water, wiping the water from my chin, and looking and seeing that both bottles were sealed. I was like, what the fuck? I know exactly what happened, but I can't make it make sense. I think if I had been alone when this happened, I would have just kind of brushed it off. But because my family was there and everybody watched me drinking the water, I feel extremely validated, but also invalidated because it makes no sense. When I was drinking the water and on the way back home, I felt like it was like an outer body experience. I almost was seeing in like third person POV. A lot of people have asked me if I notice anything different since having that whole experience, and I have to say I have. There's this whole theory about a jump in timelines or a shift in dimensions, alternate realities, and I truly believe that I experienced something along those lines when that happened. So yes, my life has changed. I noticed significant changes in my whole life. My world, my surroundings, it feels different. It's something I can't explain. It's something that will never make sense to me, but it's something that I experienced, and I think it's very cool, but it's also extremely frightening.
Top 10 Glitches in the Matrix from my comment section, part 22. My daughter pulled a book out of the bookcase, and my current driver's license fell out. She brought it to me, asking if I had been looking for it. I pulled out my wallet. The same license was there. At about 11:20 p.m. on the 18th, and I was about to go to bed, but I decided to pet my cat once more. And when I looked back at the clock, it said it was 4 a.m. I checked my phone, and it was 4 a.m. on the 20th. My dad was visiting my house one day, and he lives about 20 minutes away. He drove back to his house in his car. 2 days later, he lost his car keys, and I found them in my driveway under my car. It had rained since his visit, and I have left multiple times. And no, he doesn't have a push-to-start car. My family and I took a long road trip to Tennessee. I wore my favorite jean jacket. I took it off in the car halfway down our trip, and then we get to the hotel. I put my jacket on a chair next to the door. A couple days later, I went to wear it. It was gone. I was so upset. After a week, we went home. My jacket was on my bed. How? I wore it to Tennessee. When I was a kid, I had this little lemon strawberry shortcake themed figure. I remember purposely setting it on top of my dresser to display. I constantly looked over at it while playing too. Then poof, gone. Couldn't find it anywhere in my room. Days later, it showed back up on the dresser where I left it. Absolutely freaked me out. Once I was making some chocolate milk and I had put the cap of the milk down and put the jug down next to it, turned around to grab the chocolate syrup, turned back, the cap was gone. I looked everywhere, on the floor, on both tables, and then I turned around to face the jug again and the cap fell on my head. Still freaks me out to this day, and no one was in the kitchen with me. My mom had gotten this purple blanket for Christmas one year. It was the kind of material that would stick to your skin if it was dry. She told me one day to bring it upstairs into my closet. I did. Later that day, she told me to put it in my closet again. I told her I did. She then pointed at it saying, "It's right here." I took it to my closet and went to put it away. I was gonna put it where I thought I had put the first one, but it was already there. We now have two of the same blanket and no one knows where the other one came from. Glitch or ghost? I had a childhood toy that I took everywhere with me. It slept on my bed with me at night. One morning, I woke up and it was missing. My whole family gutted my room looking for it. Nowhere to be seen. I was heartbroken. I had this toy since I was a baby. Months later, it was sitting alone on my windowsill. Randomly reappeared one day. My whole family still doesn't understand. When I was 7, the town I lived in had a crossroad. My sister was on the sidewalk and I ran into the middle of the road and an unseen force pulled me 10 feet back to the curb. While the car was mere inches from killing me, my sister went white and said, "You could even see my clothes being pulled by something." And at number 10, my ID, passport, and keys were in a bag that were stolen from an IKEA parking lot. Car was broken into. I filed a report. This was in April. Fast forward to literally 2 weeks ago, my ID and keys were in a bag I haven't used in over a year. Passport still gone. Now I have 2 IDs and 2 sets of keys. I've seen a lot of skeptics in my comment section, so please explain these to me. How does the cap of a milk carton fall on someone's head while no one else is home and they're just standing there minding their own business? How does a jean jacket get lost while on vacation just for it to end up on the person's bed when they get home? Also, the one where the person went into the road and then was pulled 10 feet back, that was 100% divine intervention. You were not allowed to die that day. There's so much to this world and universe that's just unexplainable, and I love it.
Let's read some Glitch in the Matrix stories. I spilled chocolate ice cream on my leg. I wiped it off and there was still a pale brown stain in the shape of an ice cream splotch. I told my mother, who said it was a birthmark. I will swear under oath that never before that moment did I have a birthmark there. Alright, that weirded me out a little bit. What? Was on a road trip with family once. We stayed at a hotel for a night. Our room was nothing more than 2 beds and a restroom with a big ass mirror across from the beds. Everyone went to sleep but me. I stayed up and played mobile game I was addicted to at the time. At about 2 a.m. I went to sleep. When I woke up I noticed something was just ever so slightly off. The mirror was gone. The room had 2 separate bedrooms and there were 3 beds. Apparently I was the only one who noticed it because my family called me crazy, still confused as fuck to this day as what happened. What? I went to camp when I was around 12-ish, took one of those disposable film cameras with me. Cell phones were still in flip phone phase and I didn't have one. Took a picture of 2 people I made friends with there. One of them appears in the photo twice in 2 different poses entirely. Still weirds me out when I come across the photo. What?
So this right here is an honest-to-God glitch in the Matrix. If what they're claiming is true, this is wild. She said it was a normal evening. My boyfriend, her son, and I were getting in the car after dinner. As we settled into the car, for some reason, my boyfriend pointed to the clock and said 6:45. I glanced at him and I said, yeah, 6:45. And he looked at me like he didn't understand why he had pointed to the clock. I thought it was kind of odd, but we went on. After that little odd moment, we continued on home. The drive back home was a quick 15 minutes tops. Once we got back, we lingered in the kitchen for a bit, putting away the leftovers and talking about nothing at all. Maybe 20 minutes had passed. Then we settled in to watch a movie. Everything felt ordinary. Halfway through the movie, my boyfriend suddenly sat up, looked unsettled, and said, "What time is it?" I grabbed my phone, tapped the screen, and saw it was 7:30. I didn't think much of it, but his face changed. He paused the movie and stared at me. He said, "That's not possible." At first, I didn't understand, but then he started piecing it together out loud. We left dinner at 6:45 because he said 6:45. It took us 15 minutes to go home, 20 minutes messing around in the kitchen, and now an hour and 20 minutes into the movie. How could it still be 7:30? I asked to see the movie's runtime. Sure enough, it showed that we had been watching for over an hour, but the math didn't math. We tried to retrace every step, but nothing made sense. We didn't feel weird, no gaps in the memory, no sense of anything being off. It just happened. The only thing I thought was weird was when he pointed to the clock and said 6:45. So I went out and checked the clock in the car to make sure that it was the same time. And it was. This was impossible. It felt like time had stopped or skipped or folded over on itself. I don't know. It left both of us shaking. We still bring it up sometimes, hoping to find an explanation that makes sense, but there just isn't one. Because time doesn't work like that. At least it's not supposed to. You guys remember back in the day, Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack? I know my Gen Xers do. At the end of some of those mysteries, they would say, update, this person was found, or whatever. This right here, I wish I had an update on it, because you kind of left us hanging here. So I'm going to leave it up to the comment section. Let me know what you think this was. Why did he point at the clock and say 6:45? And then they spent well over 2 hours dicking around the house when only 45 minutes had passed? I either call bullshit or it's a glitch in the Matrix. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Damn it, man.
This person is freaking out because she's experiencing her own little glitch in the Matrix. She has something that happened in her past and she recounts it in this video in detail. She remembers all the details. You'll see, I'm going to play it for you afterwards. And now apparently it never happened and it's happening now, which is freaking her out. And then she comes to the realization that there was something that happened in her life that may have been a quantum immortality incident. And maybe that is why her timeline's all messed up and she's actually in a different timeline. We talk about it all the time, but if you don't know what quantum immortality is, it's basically the theory that when you die, you actually switch timelines. Like you die in one timeline and your consciousness, your soul, whatever you want to call it, switches over to a version of you in a very similar timeline, or maybe merges with you in a very similar timeline. And maybe some little things are different. Maybe a lot of things are different. Maybe you notice, maybe you never notice. I was originally thinking maybe this was some kind of crazy premonition that she had a long time ago and she didn't realize that's what it was, or maybe some crazy deja vu moment. But after hearing her possible quantum immortality story, I'm gonna go with that. I just want to say, I know it's weird and it freaks you out, but we believe you and it's okay. Listen to her story. Let me know what you guys think.
Okay, I got cut from work, but I have to talk to you because I'm experiencing a glitch in the Matrix. You know, I read about these things and I watch that Anti-Matrix and stuff like that, and I'm like always fascinated by it, but it's never happened to me, and this is super weird, and I just need to tell you about it. When I was in college, you know, I was in the music program because of musical theater, and the chair of the music department, well, I mean, she was awful to me. I actually have a story, a video that is still posted on my account that like is about how she didn't cast any people of color in a show where like part of the cast is supposed to be people of color, and then she just put them all in blackface. But it wasn't just that. Like, she would constantly yell at me and constantly demean me, and she made me feel like in theater being black is a setback. That stayed with me for decades. It was really hard to not believe that for a very long time. Actually, there are a lot of people that I know and I'm still friends with that, you know, she was pretty awful to be honest. But anyway, 2 years ago, she passed away. She passed away from, I think, cancer, and her daughter posted something on Facebook about it. It was amazing because all of her old students just came out of the woodwork to like talk about how devastated they were and how horrible this is, and this is just a tragedy. I have a very close friend who also was in the music program with me, and I remember that she sent me like a Marco Polo. If you have the app, you know. She sent me a Marco Polo being like, I feel bad because I feel like that line in a chorus line, and then she sang it. She was like, because I felt nothing. Oh, the song about Mr. Carp. Whatever. If you don't know chorus line, just, it doesn't matter. And I was like, girl, same. You know, we both felt the same way. But the crazy thing was if we went on Facebook, all of the people that were devastated about this horrible loss were like people that had also talked shit about her, you know. I even vague booked about it because I was like so annoyed. I also a couple weeks ago made a video about how I have like this intense memory for like certain things, right? I have a very intense memory of the day that I found out that this woman died. I remember what I was wearing. I remember exactly where I was sitting when I learned it. I remember where I was sitting when I got that Marco Polo from my friend. Cut to today, okay? This happened maybe like 35 minutes ago, okay? I get a text from my friend being like, I can't believe we haven't talked about this. The chair of the music department passed away. That's just what I'm going to call her because I'm not going to say her name. I was like, no. You're crazy. This has already happened. The next text she says is, I feel bad because I feel like that line from a chorus line. No. Okay, this has already happened and you've said exactly that. Then I go onto Facebook because I'm thinking this must be like a memory from 2 years ago or something, and it's just like resurfacing as like a memory on my friend's page, right? No, it wasn't. This was posted like a few hours ago. Even worse, remember when I said the thing about people like, you know, who had just talked shit about her and had a bad experience with her and who are now saying that they're devastated? Well, the main person in that was the person's post that I saw talking about how devastated they were that this woman passed. Everything is happening exactly as it happened that day, only instead of me being in bed when I'm reading this information, I was at work. I'm genuinely freaking out right now. How is this possible? How is this possible? Of course I went scrolling through my Facebook to try to find that vague post that I made. It's not there. It's not there. Like, what the hell is going on? I actually have a wild theory about it, and it has to do with quantum immortality, and I think that that's insane. That's insane, right? Oh my god, please don't judge me for this, because I know how I sound. But like a couple of years ago, I got into this car accident on my drive home from work. I was hit by a drunk driver who was driving in the wrong lane and didn't brake, hit me going 40 miles an hour. Just destroyed my car, okay? I was wearing a seatbelt, and I remember that after, you know, the car accident happened, and after like all the fogginess, you know, that happens after you get hit, everything seemed off, everything seemed weird, I couldn't hear for a while, but I did not have a scratch on me. Like, I had lots of bruises from the seatbelt, but I didn't have a scratch on me. The police get to my car, and they're like, I don't know how you survived this. The ambulance gets there to take me to the hospital to get checked out, and they're saying that they don't know how I survived this, much less no scratch, right? And everything kind of felt off since then, and, you know, I kind of like researched it and looked on Reddit, and that's where I found out about quantum immortality. Like, maybe I'm in a different timeline. I think that's crazy. I just want to be clear. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but I mean, but maybe I'm in a different timeline where she hadn't passed yet. I am losing my mind. This is crazy. This is crazy. I'm genuinely cracking up right now. I mean, honestly, just tell me in the comments if you think this is insane or if you have any theories. Like, seriously, this is insane.
Honestly, I do not dismiss that quantum theory, only because, like, we have literally a quantum chip that literally proves and says that we have multiverses, which is actually crazy. Let me know what you guys think about her story in the comments, though. It was very interesting.
Oh, man, this is blue screen. In fact, I'm going to keep it 100 with y'all. I haven't looked like this good in years. I've been totally computer generated since like the 90s. You know what? This ain't even real blue screen. It's 2019, y'all. Nothing's real.
Tell me why I actually remember when Will Smith dropped that. Back in 2019, man, those were the days. It's crazy how that shit was 6 years ago. 6 years ago. It's crazy. But anyways, thank y'all for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Peace out.